Welcome to StoryBrand Radio Theater, where stories meet personal development in the world of business. This radio drama is based on the best-selling book Building a Story Brand 2.0 by Donald Miller and is intended to be an easy and accessible way to learn the StoryBrand Framework so that you can simplify your message, engage with more customers, and grow your business. In today's drama, you will meet Pete and Joe, two brothers thrust into their new role as business owners when their recently deceased mother unexpectedly leaves them her successful but suddenly struggling board game company. Bewildered by their responsibility to turn their company around, they're about to embark on a journey that will transform not just their family business, but their understanding of what makes a brand truly resonate. In this funny and entertaining story, you'll follow Pete and Joe as they discover the power of the StoryBrand Framework, a revolutionary approach to clarifying your message and connecting with customers. Through their trials and triumphs, you will effortlessly learn how to position your customer as the hero, your brand as the guide, and craft an engaging public narrative that drives results. If you understand the StoryBrand Framework and integrate it into your messaging and marketing, your business is bound to succeed. But if you fail to understand and implement the framework, you will continue to struggle. Get ready for a tale of family, strategy, and the art of clarifying a message. Will Pete and Joe save their mother's legacy? And will you unlock the secrets to making your own brand unforgettable? Let's find out in StoryBrand Radio Theater presents Pete and Joe Save Their Mother's Company. In the opening scene, we find ourselves in a lawyer's office where Pete and Joe discover some unfortunate but ultimately challenging news.
Come in. Gentlemen, you're right on time. I'm Deborah Finn.
Hey, Joe Manley. This is my little brother, Petey.
I prefer Peter. Good to meet you, Miss Finn. Your mom's lawyer?
Her personal attorney, yes, although I mostly sold her essential oils.
Oh, sorry. Is it possible there's a cat nearby?
There's no cat, Petey.
Please don't sit on my cat.
Sorry.
I hope neither of you are allergic.
Extremely.
Let me start by saying how sorry I am for your loss. Your mother was a wonderful woman and cared about both of you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay then, let's get started. Are either of you familiar with how to work a VHS player?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, boys. Sorry about the VHS. The technology here is as old as the patients. I was hoping these alternative treatments in Mexico might keep the Grim Reaper from crossing the border, but that must be him now.
Room service!
Leave it by the pool, por favor.
Ooh, I see my mom wanted a closed casket.
Show some respect, Joe.
So listen, with your father gone, me ready to join him, I've spent a long time thinking about this. On the surface, what I'm leaving you may not seem like a lot, but I believe it's going to equip you two with riches far beyond what you might be able to see right now. Let's get this out before I die on camera. Where are my reading glasses? All right. I hereby bequeath the operation of my multinational board game conglomerate, currently valued at $1.3 billion, to my eldest son, Joseph.
Yes!
Who no doubt just spiked an imaginary football into an imaginary end zone.
Sorry, kitty.
And to Petey, my poet, who always means well. I leave you this poetic charge. Find the gold.
Oh, that was it?
Wow. Did Mom just go full Dumbledore on you?
Oh, wait, that was... what?
Cheer up, man. It's for the best. Now I can finally roll out my master plan.
What does find the gold mean?
Oh.
And she didn't even say goodbye to her grandkids?
Oh, I see what happened. My apologies.
And to Pete's wife, Olivia, and my grandchildren, Auden and Emily. Grandma loves you so much and hopes you'll someday learn to look up. Now, how do I turn this thing off?
So, to summarize, boom, I get a $1.3 billion company to run, and Petey gets
To find the gold. One last riddle from dear old Mom.
I should correct a misconception. Your mother's business had a $1.3 billion valuation, but that was before her passing. As of this morning, the stock has dropped 91%.
Time out.
But I'm sure the two of you can turn the business around.
Well, what
The
does...
market just needs confidence you can lead the company.
You mean I can lead the company? Petey here is just gonna, try to steal a Declaration of Independence and
Come on, Joe.
find a gold or something.
Saddled with the burden of saving his mother's company and feeling relegated to the role of treasure hunter, Pete Manley goes home to face a completely distracted family.
Honey, I'm home.
I'm upstairs.
Oh, hey, son.
Hey, Dad.
Good day?
Yeah,
Boy, I love our talks.
me too.
Your sister in her room?
Probably.
Hey, sweet girl.
Hey, Dad. I'm FaceTiming Jenna.
Okay, so you're gonna go like this.
It looks like you're scrolling TikTok.
Just like that. Okay.
I'm FaceTiming her without the face.
When you take
Aren't you supposed to be doing your homework?
What?
Never mind. Although I wish you could pay as much attention to me as you do your screen, huh?
My dad is so weird. Hey, sweetie.
Our daughter thinks I'm so weird because, get this, I talked to her.
Try sending her a text message. So, how was your day?
Well, Mom gave Joe the business.
I'm sorry.
It's not like I expected her to turn it over to me.
You know, we'll be fine. She left you a trust fund. We don't need the money. Crushed!
We don't need the money, but I could have used the vote of confidence. She left Joe the company and me one of her riddles. Find the gold.
Oh, babe, you'll find it. It's probably in the key bowl or coat pocket.
Olivia,
Yeah?
did you just hear a word I said?
I'm sorry. You're right. I should be more present. So, tell me about this gold.
Look, there's no gold.
Right, because you have to find it.
Well, maybe. I'm not sure. I'd like to believe she'd trust me with something, like she trusted Joe with the business.
You'll find the gold, love. You were your mother's favorite musician and poetry major.
I majored in literature. Are you playing Soda Crush over my shoulder while hugging me?
I'm not proud of it.
Pete, feeling like he can't get anyone's attention and wouldn't know what to say if he could, arrives at the annual shareholders meeting where his brother Joe continues to relegate him to the sidelines.
All right, is this thing on? We're good? Testing? I now call to order the 71st Annual Dorothy Manley Board Games Shareholders Meeting. I'm Joseph Manley, and as you all know, my late mother picked me to be our corporation's new head coach. Now, her last will and testament requires that I now mention my younger brother, Petey, back there on the drum kit, who will be in charge of special projects for the company, of which there are none except for the playing of novelty drums during AGMs. Mom also asked me to start this meeting with a bit of nostalgia. So here's our very first commercial from 1953's hit variety show, Cavalcade of Amateurs.
Dorothy Manley's got your game. Family fun from a trusted name. Make our games tonight's reward. You'll be never, ever bored.
What a classic, am I right? Now, I know there's some concern that our stock price has dropped 91%, and I'm being told that's now 93% since Mom's passing. Not helpful, Petey. I know there's even more nerves that our fourth quarter sales projections are down 78%. These trying times require tough leaders. And as a former quarterback and captain of my high school football team, I know what it's like to be down heading into the fourth quarter. So I'm using this morning's gathering to announce a bold, new, winning strategy for Dorothy Manley Incorporated. Drum roll, Petey. And here's famed sports announcer Buddy Butson to tell us all about it.
As of today, we'll be discontinuing all physical stock of our beloved board games and transitioning to a mobile-centric digital download model. No more waiting to gather a group of family or friends to sit around a table. You'll now be able to play on your own any Dorothy Manley board game with AI-generated family or friend avatars, or as we like to call them, favatars. These favatars won't whine about their luck or accuse you of cheating, and they'll never interrupt your game to get up and use the bathroom, because you can now play our never board games anywhere, including your favorite bathroom.
It's for the best.
Moments later, an unsettled Pete is lost in thought as he waits in the hallway for his brother to emerge.
Okay, Joe's taking the company digital. Seems really hyped about this, but he's going the wrong direction. How can I get him to listen to me? Oh, hey, Joe, wait up. Where are you walking to?
My new office.
Oh, you mean Mom's old office?
Same thing.
Right. So, your speech to the shareholders, that was your master plan? Go digital?
Oh, yeah.
Because people shouldn't be bored while they're using the bathroom?
What?
Joe, Mom built the company on the idea that families should play games together.
But families don't want to use the bathroom together. Get a hold of yourself.
No. Do most people have a favorite bathroom?
Definitely. Mine's the one in Mom's office.
Great job today, Joe.
Thanks, dog.
Where are we walking to?
Excellent question. Since you're here, I got you a surprise. You're going to love it. All right, stop right there. Now, close your eyes. Are they closed?
They're closed.
Pete, today didn't just go well. It went great. It went insanely great.
Okay.
This company is finally headed in the right direction, but it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of tradition that we need to flush if we're going to put the ball in the end zone.
Right. So when you say we, does that mean we're going to flush it together as a family?
Oh, that's beautiful, Petey. Your poetry degree is really paying off, man.
I majored in literature.
Now turn around, Petey. And here we are. This is your new office. And I'm giving you a promotion, a real job.
I have a job, Joe.
Don't say it out loud. People will hear you.
I'm poet in residence.
Not anymore. See that sign on the door? You're now the head of R&D.
Research and development?
Yeah.
Did you just learn what the acronym stands for when I said that?
Shut up. We're going to rebuild this company, Petey. You and me. And your first job is to take charge of all this old school, non-digital research and
development,
and shut down the department.
What? Now?
No, not now. Give it a couple of weeks.
There's a bunch of kids working in there.
Those aren't kids. They're just a bunch of touchy-feely millennials. Mom seemed to think they were the future.
Yeah, well, they kind of are.
But our future is digital, bro. So put on your poker face and pretend you're not going to fire them all in 2 weeks.
Because you can now play our never board games anywhere, including your favorite bathroom.
Is a favorite bathroom something people have?
You don't have a favorite bathroom?
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Why?
Good morning, team.
Generated family or friend avatars,
God,
or as
you're
we
making
like
it
to call
louder.
them,
I thought I was turning it off.
You're an
These
engineer.
Favatars.
Ow! I punched it too hard.
Great work.
Hi, Mr. Manley. I'm Annie. This is Rev,
What's up?
Neil,
Is that blood?
and Priya.
Morning.
My hand is bleeding.
Great to meet all you guys. I see you're watching this morning's shareholder meeting. Pretty exciting stuff, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, definitely.
So
I
exciting.
got blood on the keyboard.
I just wanted to stop by and introduce you to your new supervisor, my baby bro, Petey.
The drum player?
At Poet, actually.
Obviously, our team's number one priority right now is going to be our digital transition. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't honor the dusty old past, too. Pete here is going to help us transition this department. Any questions?
Can I see if we have a first aid kit somewhere?
You should go to the hospital. I've never seen that much blood from punching something.
Oh, I'll give him a lift.
That's the spirit. Teamwork. You good, bro?
I have no idea how to dissolve an R&D team.
You know what Mom would say to that?
Something cryptic, like find the gold?
Yeah, she'd say, find the gold.
You weren't actually going to say that. You just heard me say it and pivoted.
That's what a leader does. All right, I'm going to leave you to it. Find that gold, Petey. Find it.
Are you guys talking about find the gold?
Yeah, it's a thing my mom, it's not important.
Well, let me know if you ever want to play test it.
Okay, wait, sorry. Annie, was it?
Yeah,
What do you mean, play test? Play test what?
find the gold. The game your mom had us working on for the past year.
My mom was working on a game called Find the Gold.
Yeah, that's why I just said that.
Keep talking.
Dorothy Manley's got your game.
Meanwhile, after discovering Find the Gold was a board game his mother had been working on, Pete returns home to his distracted family.
Release me.
Archie, your paw goes here.
Release me.
Honey?
In the kitchen. Well, you're home later than I thought you'd be.
Yeah, originally I thought I'd just come home after the shareholders meeting, but then Joe randomly just gave me a new job.
You got a job?
A new job. I've had a job.
Right. You got a new job?
Poet in residence is a job.
I know, and now you got a new job. Archie, paw goes here.
Release me.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get the dog to talk to me. If he pushes this button,
Release me.
it sends me an alert and I can unlock the doggy door from my phone. Archie, if you want to go outside, paw goes here.
Release me.
Does it say anything less sad?
What's your new job?
I got a job.
I got a new job, a promotion.
Nice.
I'm the new head of, and he's already left the room.
New head of what?
Research and development.
What happened? Did someone else die?
Dad got a new job.
Congrats, Dad.
Thanks, sweet girl. You know, it's actually pretty cool. I found out today that, and she's gone. She literally just walked away during that sentence. I mean, didn't even try to listen.
I don't think she heard you.
I don't think she knows
Archie,
who I am.
paw.
Release me.
So does that mean you have a team of people who work for you now?
Yeah, and you'll never believe this. They've got a game Mom was developing before she died, and guess what it's called?
Archie, paw. That's not my guess.
It's called Find the Gold.
Whoa, you found the gold.
I found Find the Gold.
Do you think that's what your mom wanted to happen?
I don't know why she couldn't have just told me about it.
I don't know why this dog can't just press a simple button.
Probably because he's a dog?
So, Find the Gold is a board game?
Yeah, and the thing is, we played it, and it's fun. Like, really fun. It reminds me of the games Mom used to make that we'd play as kids. I actually think it could do really well. Maybe even save the company, but I don't think Joe's going to go for it.
Why not?
Well, Joe's taking the company in a new, all-digital direction.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, push right here.
Release me.
That bad?
Everyone's gone digital. The whole world has gone digital, and Mom would hate it. She created games that brought families together, not tore them apart. I really feel like Find the Gold could be big, though. It could help us defeat the addiction families have to screens. I just need to figure out a way to talk about it so that customers will listen, and you are not listening to me now. Wow.
I'm listening.
No, you're scrolling Instagram.
This is how I listen.
Uh-huh, yeah, and who's that?
It's an ad.
Of an attractive man.
Okay, he's attractive.
No, he's one of the most attractive men I've ever seen in my life. Was he Donald Miller?
It's something businessy about building a story brand. I just find his voice soothing, like ASMR without the drowsiness.
Okay, just hit play.
Building a story brand, Chapter 2. The secret to growing your business is to position yourself as the guide, helping your hero customer win. And position your products as tools your hero customers can use to overcome their problems. Your customer is looking for a strong guide to help them win the day, and you need to position your brand as that guide. Your customer is a hero in a hole, and you are the guide who knows how to get them out of that hole. Successful brands know this to be true. They know how to invite customers into a story. Always position your customer as the hero and your brand as the guide. Always. If you don't, your business will die.
Release me.
Archie, good dog.
Congratulations. You are free.
So the customer is the hero and the brand is the guide?
What's that, honey?
Hey, do you and the kids want to play a game?
After Pete discovers the StoryBrand Framework as a messaging tool to get people to pay attention, he calls an emergency meeting of his R&D team.
Okay, thanks to all of you on the R&D team for agreeing to meet with me this morning on such short notice.
I mean, it is 9 a.m. on a Tuesday.
And we're your employees.
And we were already gathered here when you came in.
Right. I'm still getting used to being a manager and managing.
You're doing great, boss.
Oh, thanks. So here's the deal. Find the Gold is fun. Like, really fun. The kind of fun that made my mom's company so successful. I couldn't stop talking about it last night when I came home, but, I tried to tell my family about it, and I couldn't get their full attention because they were all glued to their device screens like zombies.
Ever play Zombie Scream, boss?
You can play it on your phone.
Thank you, Neil. But back to what I was saying. See, at first, I was discouraged because I realized this is what we'd be up against trying to take this to market.
Zombies?
The screens, Neil.
Oh, that makes more sense.
So it sounds like you landed in the same place your brother has, with a focus on digital products.
Well, yes, that's where my mind went too, and I was really bummed about it. But that's when I realized our customers have a problem.
Oh, we're so sorry.
No, this is a good thing.
Oh.
Congrats, boss. You did it.
I am not explaining this well. It means our customers are heroes and we are guides. No, I'm not. Please stop clapping, Annie.
Oh, sorry.
Here, can I use this whiteboard? I have been listening to this Donald Miller guy explain it. In every story, you have a hero, right? And that hero has a problem. In our case, our customer's problem is...
Their families.
We have to defeat their families.
Incorrect.
Screens. We have to help families defeat their addictive screens.
Yes, but underneath screens, what's the deeper underlying problem?
Capacitive materials and processors.
No, not literally under the screens.
Their hands?
No.
Holding the device?
What are the screens causing?
Disconnection?
Disconnection, yes. Our families no longer talk to each other. They no longer spend quality time together. So, Manly Games has an opportunity here. We can help families combat screens and actually connect.
Human connection at large.
There he is. Neil's finally getting it.
He just needs a warm-up period.
Our human connection is suffering. Parents are looking for a way to get their kids back, to get their marriages back. Everyone out there on some level is craving human connection, a fundamental part of the human experience. So, in any story, you've got a hero with a problem. What do they need?
A solution.
Right, but how do they get it?
By rallying the free peoples of Middle-earth against Sauron's armies and carrying the One Ring to be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom.
You're not wrong, but who shows Frodo how to do all that?
Well, he's known by many names. Mithrandir among the elves.
Gandalf, just say Gandalf.
Darkin to the dwarves.
Okay, I'm gonna write Gandalf.
Oh, a guide.
Precisely, Priya, a guide. The hero has a problem, so they meet a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action. Last night, when I tried to tell my family about Find the Gold and couldn't get their full attention, I had a brief moment of feeling disappointed. But then I saw a video of this guy, Donald Miller.
The guy who wrote Masters of the Air?
Different Donald Miller.
Oh, the Joker.
No, that's Steve Miller.
The smoker?
Still Steve Miller.
The Midnight Toker?
Great. I'm loving this.
You know, some people also call him the Space Cowboy.
Okay, you're all fired.
Is this him? Ooh.
Yes, that's his Instagram profile.
He's shockingly handsome.
Right? But that's not important.
It's not avoidable.
Last night, I listened to his book, Building a Story Brand, and he explained that most brands get ignored because they position themselves as the hero. But what customers are really looking for is a guide, somebody to help them solve their problems. Miller said to stop telling your story and invite customers into a story about them. I mean, it's revolutionary.
So we become their guide.
Someone throw candy at Annie.
Ow! A flash drive?
It's unflavored.
We have to be the guide. We're the ones who are going to empower our customers with the plan and resources they need to solve their own problems. You know what I ended up doing last night? I had my family get off their devices and play one round of Find the Gold with me. You want to know what happened?
They got really mad at you.
100%. But after that,
You can just tell us.
we played one round of Find the Gold, but then after that, we played another round of Find the Gold. You know whose idea that was?
I think we're all excited, just tired of guessing.
My daughter's. You know whose idea it was to play a third round?
One of your other kids?
My son's. And after that, we played another round, and then another. By the end of the night, you know how many rounds we ended up playing?
100!
That would be objectively impossible.
I'm just trying to match your excitement level.
We played 12 rounds of Find the Gold. 12 rounds! And we only stopped because it was a school night.
Responsible parenting.
Guys, we've got something that will empower and equip our customers to rediscover human connection. But Donald Miller says it's not enough to think you can solve a customer's problem. He says you need a messaging campaign that helps people know you can solve their problems. He says you need short, simple sound bites that invite customers into a story in which they use your products to win the day. So let's figure out how to talk about Find the Gold in such a way that parents start playing it with their kids in order to defeat the enemy of screens.
Not sure your brother's gonna go for that, Pete. And also, that's a permanent marker?
Yeah, I'm just realizing that. Drew on my face, didn't I?
Only a little, boss.
After introducing his team to the handsome Donald Miller's StoryBrand Framework, we join Joe Manley's tech CEO-style product launch rehearsal in the company auditorium.
All right, dude, I'm gonna take it again. Which is why I'm excited to announce today that all Dorothy Manley board games will be playable online with our AI-powered Favatars.
Okay, great.
Oh, hi, excuse me. I'm looking for my brother.
He's on stage at the moment.
Cue the phone.
That is one giant phone.
Quiet, please.
Oh, sorry.
These Favatars won't whine about their luck or accuse you of cheating, and they'll never interrupt your game to go to the bathroom.
Do you know how long until he's available? I just need to...
Quiet, please.
Sorry.
Because you can now play our Never Bored board games anywhere, including your favorite bathroom.
And we'll hold for laughter.
Do you have a favorite bathroom?
Yeah, the one in his office.
Really?
Quiet, please.
Let me show you how magical this is. Who here likes Sharkquake?
Me, woohoo, I love Sharkquake.
I'm gonna pull out my phone and start a game of Sharkquake.
Hey, hang on, Joe. We're not seeing the screen on the phone.
Should I hold it up higher?
No, on the giant phone. We're not getting your feed. Stand by.
Wait, is that Pete back there?
Hey, bro. It's me. I just was looking for a few minutes of your time.
Quiet, please.
Yeah, keep it down, Pete. We're rehearsing.
All right, phone's up. Let's continue.
I'm gonna pull out my phone and start a game of Sharkquake. And I'm gonna let it pair me up with a random Favatar.
Whoa. Is that?
Mom? Is that you? Whoa, crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, my dead mother, Dorothy Manley.
Hey there, Joseph. I love you.
This is upsetting.
And heavy-handed.
So it's not just me.
Quiet, please.
Okay.
Adjust the contrast on the AI dead mother image.
I miss you, Mom. It's good to see your face. Hey, Mom.
Yes, son.
You wanna, I don't know, maybe play a game of Sharkquake?
Oh, dear.
I'd love to, Joseph. Anything for more time with you. Prepare to be dominated at a 7.0 magnitude.
That's beautiful, and you'll play the game, you'll beat her.
You don't even let her win?
I'm really good at Sharkquake, Petey, you know that.
And then we'll close with the in memoriam.
You're closing with an in memoriam?
Quiet, please.
Dorothy Mae Manley was born in the farming town of Kearney, Nebraska.
What's up, baby bro?
I think your mic is still on.
Oh, they'll turn it off. Let's walk and talk. How much of that did you catch?
Enough.
It's great, right? They're gonna freak when they see Mom.
Yeah, and how large and looming she is.
How's the new gig? Can you shut down the department this week? Could use the money to pay more coders.
Yeah, well, I have something I'd like to pitch to. It's not possible there's a cat somewhere, right? I mean,
There's no cat. What were you saying?
Well, I have something to pitch at. I want to pitch something to you.
Nice. Let's hear it.
Oh, no, not now. We're not ready. I wanted to see if I could get something on the books for before the big sales presentation, which...
It's tomorrow.
What?
Yeah, had to move it up. Stock is dropping fast and we need a win now.
Geez, no, look, I'm hoping to convince you to make this a central part of it. Never mind.
No, dude, if you got something, I want to hear it.
Well, it seems like you're the hero of this story, Joe.
The hero of the story. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, but about that, I'm not sure you're going to want to hear what I'm thinking. It has to do with our customers' real problem and whether our products help them solve those problems. And it might require a rethink of your entire... whatever that was.
Petey, if you got something you believe in, lay it on me.
You really mean that?
I got your back, bro. You remember that summer at the beach? I was in high school, you were in 8th grade.
Yeah, no, I really don't like this story.
I had that crush on Leah Green, but I mentioned to you how she only seemed interested whenever another girl seemed interested in me.
Right, it doesn't need retelling.
So you put on Mom's clothes.
Joe, please.
And you walked along the beach with me.
I am begging you.
She saw us from afar, bro. Yeah. And the next day, I asked her out, and she said yes, because you put on our mom's clothes and pretended to be a beautiful girl who was into me. Remember?
Yeah. I remember.
And because my bro would do that for me, I've got your back for life, bud.
Oh, thanks, man.
And don't worry, that story stays between us.
Hey, Joe, I need your mic pack. And by the way, it's been on this whole time, and everyone in the auditorium can hear everything you've been saying.
Oh, sorry, here you go.
Thank you.
So, Petey, can you do the pitch in my office in 2 hours?
Just you, or will the entire auditorium be listening?
Whatever you need, bud.
Just you is fine.
See you then. And don't blow your big pitch. This hero doesn't have time to screw around. Changing the world here.
After failing to get his brother's attention, Pete reconvenes with his team.
Okay, team, circle up. Which do you want first? The good news or the bad news?
Good news.
Bad news.
Simultaneously.
Okay, well, that's impossible.
Your mom used to say nothing's impossible.
Well, the good news is that Joe has agreed to hear our pitch and consider it for the sales presentation.
That's amazing.
The bad news is he wants to hear it in 2 hours.
2 hours from now?
That is impossible.
Listen, I think we can do it. We just need to give Joe a strong pitch.
Peter, you should give Joe the hero guide talk you gave to us from that good-looking author you found.
Donald Miller. Yes, and you're right, Annie. It might work, but Joe definitely sees himself as the hero of the story, so I'm not sure if he's going to buy that the customer is the hero.
Worth a shot.
How do we know if Donald Miller's ideas are going to be good enough to save the company? Maybe he's just a thought leader who gets by on his good looks.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Okay, if Donald Miller is right, we have to pitch the customer as the hero and us as the guide. And the way you position yourself as the guide is to express empathy and demonstrate competency.
Empathy and competency?
Yes. Let's all listen to this part of his book.
Never, ever play the hero. Never. You will lose the sale, and you might even lose your brand. People aren't looking for a hero. They are looking for the guide. When you position yourself as the guide, you position yourself as the very character your customer is looking for. They are a hero in a hole, and you are the one who knows how to get them out.
His voice is so smooth.
There are 2 things you have to do to position yourself as the guide. You have to express empathy, and you have to demonstrate competency.
Oh, this is the part I was telling you about.
To express empathy, identify your customer's problem and let them know you feel their pain, that you understand their challenge. And to demonstrate competency, make it clear you know how to get the hero out of their hole. You need to tell them how many other heroes you've helped, how effective your solution is, and let them know they can trust you and your products to set them free.
And there you have it. It all fits for us, too. Our customers' problem is that their kids are constantly looking at screens. They aren't connecting anymore, and they're losing their opportunity to be a close family. That's our empathy, right? And our competency comes from Mom's legacy. She spent her life perfecting the art of connecting with each other by playing board games. I mean, she was amazing at it.
We really do have a great story.
Except it's not our story. It's our customer's story, and we are stepping into their story to play the guide and help them out of their hole.
Which is why they'll want to buy our games, right?
Exactly, Annie.
And your brother's gonna hear these magical words and suddenly reverse course, admitting he was wrong, firing his new coding department, and rewriting his big announcement keynote.
So, I guess it's time to test the framework.
Feeling equipped with the StoryBrand Framework, Pete and the R&D team arrive at Joe Manley's office.
Hi there. Are you...
Joe Manley's executive assistant? I am.
Well, since I've got the whole team here, I was just checking to see if our 4 p.m. with Joe is still going to happen.
Joe Manley apologizes for the wait. He's just wrapping up a call.
Great. Peter Manley says no problem at all.
You're doing a heroic job.
I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm Annie. I work with Peter in R&D, and I just want you to know you're the real hero. We're just here to guide you, to help you out of your hole.
Guide me out of what hole?
Annie, I'll do the talking.
That might be best.
Pete! Wow, about the whole team. Well, come on in, everybody. Have a seat. Sorry for the wait. You remember Bill Griffin?
From Smartmart? Yeah, I love that guy.
He's the best. He was calling to let me know he can't be at the presentation tomorrow, but he wants me to send him a link so he can watch it this weekend.
Oh, sweet.
Anyway, you called this meeting. How's it going winding down your department? What kind of jobs you guys gonna get next?
What? Beg your pardon?
My brother is the Joker.
And the hero, because Joe, it's all about you.
I know that, but thank you anyway.
I'll do the talking, Annie. So, Joe, did you know Mom was developing a new game when she died?
Was it a video game?
No, it wasn't a video game.
Because that was my idea. Video games were my idea.
I wasn't aware you invented video games, but that said, it's called Find the Gold.
That's Find the Gold? You're kidding.
Nope.
Full Dumbledore.
Right? But it might be Mom's best board game yet. My kids loved it. It brought my family together, and it freed us all from staring at our screens.
That's amazing. So how do we turn that into a video game?
Sorry, what?
Find the Gold video game. Play it on your phone, your tablet.
Joe. Families are tired of screens. TVs and tablets and phones are keeping them from connecting. It's a real problem. And we have a solution to that problem. It's the old-fashioned board game. We are experts at helping family and friends connect. We just need to double down on what Mom started, and find the gold is how we're going to do it.
So what I hear you saying is that people are addicted to screens, which means they will give us money to feed their addiction.
That wasn't really my point.
You know we need money, right? I bet the company on this, the entire company, and I'm about to give the most important presentation in the history of all business. Screens are not the villain, Peter. People lose themselves in screens. They hold them, they watch them, and they hit little buttons to give us more money so they can keep playing them.
If I may...
I wasn't a poetry major, Petey. I played football. But even a guy who can't write poem words knows what a villain looks like. And right now, a villain looks a lot like you trying to strangle your big bro's dream.
I majored in lit.
I'm the hero.
Yeah.
It's the fourth quarter, and we're down by 7. I'm going to drive the length of the field. You're going to watch me score a touchdown, followed by a 2-point conversion, and then you're going to want to write poems about how awesome I did. Thank you, Abby.
It's Annie, actually.
Please stop clapping, Annie.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, this one.
Neil, like the astronaut.
I believe you can be an astronaut. That's what you should do next. But first, I want you to be inspired. So even though my little bro here is trying to sack the quarterback, I'm getting all you guys front row seats so tomorrow you can watch me loft one into the end zone and save the day.
With all due respect, Joe, I think you could be making a big mistake.
I've got a ton of prep for tomorrow. Thanks to all of you for coming by.
Yeah, okay. Good luck.
Really love the pitch, team. Get a water on the way out.
Did we mess that up, or is Donald Miller just a good-looking idiot?
I don't know, Annie, but I have a suspicion my brother's about to kill this company.
My friends, Joe Manley gave his presentation. How did it go? Just listen to the critics.
Manly Board Games held their first sales keynote today since the death of founder Dorothy Manley. And boy, oh boy, it did not go well.
Oh no!
Yeah, is Joe in his office?
What? I mean, yes, I wasn't watching this video.
Yeah, I don't care if you were.
Please don't tell Joe I was watching a video about how he's tanking the company.
Is he here?
He's in his office. You're probably fine to just go on in while I finish watching this video to see if I'll still have a job next week.
Manly Board Games held their first sales
Joe?
Close the door.
Where are you?
Under here.
What are you doing under your desk?
We're screwed, Pete.
Who is?
You is.
Me is?
We is.
We're not screwed.
We're all screwed.
No one is screwed.
People laughed through that entire presentation. They laughed at everything except the actual jokes. They actually made an effort to stop laughing whenever they sensed a joke.
It wasn't that bad.
Half the sales reps walked out midway through. Our stock is tanked. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're going to be okay.
You got to jump ship, man. You got to get as far away from me as possible so when they fire me, you have a fighting chance of keeping the company and our family.
I am not going anywhere, Joe. I've got your back for life, man.
I actually said that to you yesterday. I don't know if you remember.
It was an intentional callback.
Pete, I should have gone with your pitch.
We don't know if it would have worked.
It would have worked. But why?
Why what?
Why did it work so well? What do you know that I don't?
I don't think we want to dive too deep into that question.
I'm serious, Pete. You're seeing something I'm not seeing. I didn't listen before, and it's probably too late, but I'm listening now.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this. What problem were you trying to solve today?
Money.
What about it?
I need it. The company's going to tank without it.
And whose problem is that?
Ours.
How does that relate to the customer?
I need them.
Right.
I need them to give me their money.
Exactly.
As much of it as they can.
And whose problem is that?
Ours.
Right. So why should the customer care?
Because I need them to.
We're not supposed to be the ones with the problem, Joe. Customers don't care about solving our problems. They care if we can solve theirs.
Then I was trying to solve the wrong problem?
Very much so.
I should have been talking about the customer's problem.
Yes.
That's genius, Petey. Who taught you all this? No way they teach you that in poetry school.
I learned it from a guy on the internet.
Which guy on the internet? Show him to me. I want to see him.
This is his Instagram page.
For a middle-aged man, he's distractingly handsome.
I know, but if you can get past the good looks, he has this whole thing about communicating what your company does in a way that uses principles of storytelling that humans have used for centuries.
When marketing a product, never make yourself the hero. Never talk about your objectives. Only talk about what the customer wants. Talk about the customer's problem and how your products can help them solve those problems. Otherwise, you will blow the sale. You will tank the presentation. You will kill your mother's company. And you might end up being some sad Joe hiding under your desk.
That's shockingly specific. Pete, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you before, but I am listening now to you and to this offensively handsome man you found on the internet.
So you want to get out from under your desk?
Not yet. No, I do not.
Joe, do you still want to send a link to today's presentation to Bill Griffin at Smartmart? His office is asking for it.
Yeah, sure.
Will do.
Wait.
What?
Don't.
Don't what?
Don't do.
Don't do?
Don't send him the link. Tell him I'm going to give it to him in person.
You're going to give Bill Griffin a link in person?
I'm going to give him the presentation in person. Tell him that. Tell him I'm going to drive down and I'm going to give him today's presentation in person tomorrow morning. Get me on his calendar.
Okay.
Joe, what are you...
Bill's old school. I guarantee you hasn't seen anything about today's debacle.
Debacle.
Shut up. If we can use Mr. Internet's sales framework to give our pitch, we might be able to save the company.
That's brilliant, Joe. I mean, you can do this.
I'm going to need to get up to speed on this pitch.
Well, I can have my team get it written up for you.
No need. You're coming with me.
Who is?
You is.
Me is?
We is.
Oh, dude, you gotta stop punching me in the arm.
Road trip, baby!
Pete and Joe head off on their road trip to Smartmart headquarters, using the StoryBrand Framework to create the sound bites necessary to clarify their message.
What took so long?
I was talking to the motel front desk guy, and I gave him a slice, and you're not going to believe this. He remembers Mom from when she would stay here on sales trips.
That guy was our age. He just wanted some pizza and said whatever you wanted to hear.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Now, did you ask him if they have rooms with 2 beds?
They don't, just the Warners.
Of course.
Can we run through a StoryBrand script one more time so I get it?
Yeah. Let me pull up storybrand.ai and go back over the sound bites the StoryBrand brain gave us. Okay, one more time. You have a hero.
The customer.
And they want?
To connect with their family.
And they have 3 problems. An external problem.
The family is distracted by screens.
An internal problem.
They feel disconnected from their kids and their family.
And a philosophical one.
Families should connect with each other and get to know each other.
They meet a guide.
Us, Dorothy Manley Games.
Who understands their challenge of screens and has created a new game that brings families together.
Find the gold.
The guide provides a plan.
Get the game, play the game, create connection.
And a call to action.
Buy the game.
Which, if they do, they'll find success will look like...
family connection.
And if they don't, failure will look like...
they will miss the window in which they will get to connect with their families.
See? The soundbites StoryBrand.ai gave us are great. We can trust this.
Can I be honest about something? I think you're making screens the bad guys too much.
Well, we kind of have to, right?
I don't know. I mean, I get that they're ruining your family.
I wouldn't phrase it like that.
But screens are where people like to spend their time. So what if we use screens to do the opposite?
How?
I don't know. What if instead of holding cards in our hands, we had an app on our phones that dealt us the digital cards?
Yeah, right. What if instead of a football, the players just threw a phone at each other?
Don't be stupid.
You're the stupid.
I'm just sharing my thoughts, dude. I'm not a total idiot. I've been working at Mom's side for 10 years. I actually know a few things about this business.
Yeah, tell that to our stock price.
Oh, is that how you want to play this?
You forced me to go on this road trip with you. You wouldn't let us stop by my house to grab basic toiletries.
There was no time, Pete.
You insist on staying at this dumpy motel and refuse to get a room with 2 beds.
They only had oneers.
You know, to be honest, what I really want to do right now is physically fight you.
Well, that'll be a first. Little baby Petey, not running away to a corner at the sight of any physical conflict.
Oh, yeah. Am I in a corner now?
Kind of.
Well, how about now? I moved over a little.
That's less in the corner.
Then let's do this.
I don't know where to hit you. Mom always told me you were fragile.
She was correct. I had delicate bones.
How are they now?
My bones?
Yeah.
Fine, normal.
You have normal bones now?
Yes, you have no idea how normal my bones are now.
Prove it. Hit me.
Hit you?
Hit me with your normal bones.
All right.
You gotta be honest, Pete. I barely felt that.
I think I broke my wrist.
You didn't break anything.
You don't know that?
You're moving it around.
Broken things move around.
What are we doing? What is this?
I finally have something to contribute. Mom always had you at her side, and I was just a sensitive artist in the corner, and now I finally feel like I can be useful, and you're coming in the night before the pitch and trying to screw it up.
You're not the only one trying to prove useful, Pete. I'm terrible at this. I don't understand what people are talking about in meetings. My first product launch had 50% walkouts. I think half the company is using my bathroom when I'm not there.
Oh, yeah, they definitely are.
I really wanted to be good at this, man. I miss Mom.
Me too.
You remember when she took us on that tour and we played board games with families all over America?
Oh, that was epic.
It really is a story, isn't it? It's the story Mom lived all her life, fighting distraction to bring families together. There were times I wish she would have focused more on money, but maybe the reason she had so much success was because she cared so much about our customers and their families. I want to live up to her, Pete, but I'm not sure I can land the pitch the way she did. She meant it. She lived it.
You've got this, Joe. Just make the customer the hero.
That really is what Mom did. She made the customer the hero. She made us the hero. She was always making others the hero and helping them win. The key to growing the business was being modeled for us for years.
Just remember the StoryBrand Framework and speak from the heart. The customer is the hero, and they want relief from their problem. You are the guide. You are Yoda and Gandalf and Haymitch all wrapped up in one, and you are here to help the customer overcome their problem and get what they want. That's the heart of the pitch, and it's all about heart.
Maybe you should give the pitch, Pete. You get this stuff. Mom left me the company, but she left you the keys to it. Find the gold. She knew you would get it, and she knew I wouldn't.
She knew I would understand the game and why it matters, but she also knew you were the guy to run the company. You want to just play another round to find the gold, then go to sleep in our uncomfortably small bed?
It's literally all I want to do.
Now that they've clarified their message and repaired their relationship, Pete and Joe head to Bill Griffin's office to deliver their winning pitch.
Wow, Bill's office lobby is like a museum. I've never seen so much sports memorabilia in one room.
Oh, yeah, Bill's a huge sports guy. Used to play, too, minor league.
Oh, wow.
AAA.
Impressive. I bet he scored a lot.
Of what, Petey?
The touchdowns?
AAA is baseball, buddy.
Shut up.
Hey guys, I'm Greg.
Joe Manley.
Pete Manley.
Amazing. Can I get you guys anything? Water? Coffee?
I love a black coffee, actually.
Amazing. Be right back.
Oh, yeah, and I'll take and there he goes. He's gone.
You should take this.
What?
You should run the pitch.
No, we talked about this. I've never pitched anything.
I'll back you up if I see the need.
Why?
It's your pitch. Your time to contribute. You got this.
You sure?
Positive.
All right. Thanks, man.
Oh, and listen, when I cough, that means closing time.
Closing time?
Yeah, time to close.
Time to close?
The sale. Time to close the sale.
So what can I do for you guys?
No, just the coffee. This is great.
Sorry, no. What I mean is, I'm excited to hear whatever you guys drove down to tell us about.
Oh, we were...
We were expecting to be meeting with Bill. Will he be joining us?
Bill had something come up this morning, so you can tell me and I'll catch him up later.
Okay, great.
Amazing.
Amazing, yeah. So... We've got to...
Bless you. Bless you again.
Thanks, it's just...
Oh, hey, Greg. I'm sorry, but do you happen to have any creamer? I totally forgot to bring mine from home.
Oh, of course. 1 sec.
Dude, pull yourself together.
God, do you think there's a cat in here somewhere? That'd be weird, right?
There's no cat. There's never a cat.
I mean, there actually was a cat once.
Not today. Today the cat is in your mind, and you gotta kill it.
What?
Kill the mind cat, Pete.
Is this supposed to motivate me?
I said kill the mind cat, Pete!
It's French vanilla. I hope that's okay.
French vanilla is amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Amazing. Where were we?
Do you have kids, Greg?
I have 2, 12 and 9.
Same here.
Amazing.
Are your kids allowed to do screens?
Yeah, we should probably regulate it better.
Yeah, it's hard though, right? I mean, they become such a fundamental part of our lives now, but they can feel like a real hurdle to actually connecting with each other, at least. I mean, well, that's how it's felt for me.
I totally agree.
The other night, though, something interesting happened. Do you like board games?
Go!
Aw, man!
Did it again.
Greg, you swear you've never played this before?
I swear.
I don't believe you. I don't believe him.
This is a blast, guys. Really amazing stuff.
Right? It's super simple. It's addictive. And it's the perfect thing to bring friends and families together in a real way. And we think Smartmart is the perfect partner to launch this with.
First off, this all sounds amazing.
Amazing.
Just incredible. I love literally everything about it.
Incredible.
I think this will be interesting for us to consider mid-year.
Great. So, can I put you down for mid-year what now?
Yeah, that'll give you guys time to market test it while our current shelf real estate is maxed out. We usually reevaluate everything mid-year. Why don't we circle back then and see how the numbers look?
Greg, the customers, right? The families are the customers and they're addicted to the screens and they aren't connecting with each other. So we have to help them. It's our job. See, they're the hero and they have problems.
What my brother is trying to say is that if we don't put Find the Gold on shelf soon, very soon, families will continue to get distracted by screens. We have to act now.
Totally. So let's get something on the books for mid-year to talk about all of this amazing stuff.
Greg, no. Think about how amazing it would be to just talk about it right now.
Joe, I think Greg's looking to circle back mid-year.
Yeah, no, I know. Do you think Bill's here yet?
I don't.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Pete and Joe retreat to a local coffee shop discouraged by what seems to be the utter failure of the StoryBrand Framework.
I've got a bourbon barrel vanilla latte for Joe.
Ask her if there's real bourbon in it.
There's not. Why would there be?
Then what are we even doing here?
Joe, what are you doing?
I'm more comfortable down here.
Get out from under the table and sit in the chair.
I honestly have no idea what to do now.
Nor do I.
This whole thing is stupid.
Yep.
It's stupid that our stock tanked. It's stupid that my Favatars don't sell. It's stupid that we drove all the way out here just to end up pitching to the amazing Greg.
Yep.
More like the stupid Greg.
Yep.
It's stupid that this coffee doesn't have alcohol.
I mean, that's not completely surprising.
It's stupid that Mom died.
Yep.
I'll tell you what else is stupid. The StoryBrand Framework. Making the customer the hero, identifying their problem, offering them a product that solves their problem. We did it all. It didn't work. He told us to come back later, and you know what that means. It means no. He's never gonna place an order. The whole customer is a hero thing is a joke.
Joe,
are you even listening to me, Pete?
Joe.
I'm pouring my heart out
Joe,
right now.
Don't turn around or do anything.
What am I looking for?
You immediately turned around.
What am I looking for?
Turn back toward me.
What's going on?
Sitting 2 tables from us. It's the guy.
What guy?
I don't want to say his name out loud and bring attention to us.
What guy?
The guy from the internet with all the wisdom and...
Donald Miller?
Oh, my God.
Where is he? Which one of you is Donald Miller?
Yeah, okay, we have to leave.
Which one of you is Donald Miller?
Hello?
I need to talk to you, bub. You're full of crap. You know that?
Well, hello. I'm Don.
Joe Manley, hi.
Nice to meet you, Joe.
Shut up.
Okay.
You sold my brother a load of horse crap.
And is that your brother?
No, he died.
Yeah, that's him.
Great.
Petey found your Instagram and your book and all your self-help corporate guru videos, and he made a good pitch based on them. A really good pitch.
Well, that's great.
No, it's not great, Don. It's terrible. We just gave that pitch to Smartmart, one of the best pitches I've ever seen. My brother Pete, he pulled it off flawlessly. I've never been more proud of him.
Wow, that's wonderful.
You shut your beautiful mouth.
Okay.
My God, you are so ruggedly handsome. It's making it really hard to stay mad at you, but your crap doesn't work.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but it isn't true.
No, what do you mean it isn't true? I was there. I gave the pitch.
You couldn't have. The formula works. Did you make the customer the hero?
Of course. He didn't make me the hero once.
You identified something the hero wants, and you distilled it into a soundbite.
Yes! The hero was the customer, and they wanted to connect with their family.
And their external problem?
Screens. Their families are distracted by screens.
And what was the internal problem?
They feel disconnected. They feel like they're losing their family.
And their philosophical problem?
Families should be connected to each other. They should really know each other and care about each other.
Did you position yourself as the guide, helping the hero win?
Of course, we empathized with the hero and then stated how we could help them solve their problem. My mom has helped millions of families connect with each other. We know what we're doing.
Okay, the 3-step plan.
Get the game, play the game, bring the family together.
The call to action.
Easy. Buy the game.
The negative stakes.
If you don't play Find the Gold, your family will fail to connect, and you will lose them to screens.
What about the positive stakes?
If you buy the game, your family will connect and know each other, and screens won't destroy your lives.
I see. Listen, you really do understand the framework. I mean, you get it.
Exactly, you stunningly attractive con artist.
What my rude brother is trying to say is that maybe it doesn't always work.
It works. It always works. The human brain cannot turn away when you invite them into a story in which they play the hero and win the day.
But our buyer didn't, you charlatan with such good skin. How do you have such great skin?
I eat beef liver when I cold plunge.
Cold plunging is connected to longevity.
It's true.
Don't distract us. Your pitch didn't work, and you are the reason we're going to lose our entire company.
The pitch was fine. You just gave it to the wrong person.
What are you talking about?
The pitch you gave was designed for the end buyer, the parent. But you were pitching the buyer at Smartmart. You should have identified what he wanted, what his problems were. A 3-step plan for him to win the day. A call to action that was all for him. Negative stakes that he would suffer if he didn't place a large order right then. And positive stakes that would happen if he did. You gave the right pitch to the wrong audience. You have to know your audience.
Whoa, so there are multiple brand scripts?
That's right. The end buyer is trying to save his family, but your buyer was trying to keep his job. He needs to sell games. His problem is likely that board games aren't selling anymore, and so on and so on. You use one brand script to sell to the wholesale buyer and another one to sell to the end user.
Joe, he's right. Greg loved the game for his family, but we never invited him into a story in which he saves the day for Smartmart. Man, we blew it. We gave the wrong pitch to the wrong guy.
Holy crap. That's exactly what we did.
That's exactly what you did.
You aren't just ruggedly handsome, you're smart, too.
I think you guys need another shot. Make the pitch again, but make your buyer the hero. And it sounds like your buyer is the wholesale buyer, not the end user. The problem of the game buyer isn't to bring families together, it's to meet his sales quota. You've got to model your brand script to the buyer.
That immediately makes sense.
You create different brand scripts for different buyers.
How do you think I sold so many books?
By putting your picture on the front?
That and a few other things.
This is Joe.
Yeah, look, really sorry for bothering you, Don.
It happens more often than you'd think.
Really?
Not at all. This is weird and I am uncomfortable.
Yep, take care.
Thank you so much, Mr. Griffin. Talk to you then. Pete, listen to this. Bill Griffin wants us to come back and give him the pitch personally. Respect for mom, blah, blah, blah.
Are you serious?
You hear that, Miller? We got a second chance.
Guys, that is great.
And you're not that good looking. Kinda average, if you ask me.
And we are walking to the car, Joe. We are leaving.
Are we not mad at him anymore?
Seriously, though, Don. Thanks, Don? Where'd he go?
You looking for someone?
Donald Miller. He was just sitting right there.
There's never been a customer here by that name.
What?
Ever.
It's like he scripted it so he's some kind of mysterious guru or guide or an angel.
What?
Nothing.
Regardless of whether Pete and Joe met with an angel, a vision, a ghost, or just the self-serving executive producer of this radio drama, they find themselves back in the office of Bill Griffin for one last desperate attempt to make the pitch.
Bill's just wrapping up a call. Can I get you guys anything?
Oh, we're great, thank you. Hey, Petey, I gotta confess something. I never read any of your poems.
Well, you made it pretty clear that poems aren't really your thing.
Tell me one.
What, right now?
Yeah.
No, not right now.
I want to hear one.
You don't want a poem right now.
I really do.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Here's one. Morning breaks.
That was beautiful.
Joe, Pete.
Oh, hey, Mr. Griffin.
Please, call me Bill.
Bill, how are you?
Well, just getting over some jet lag. Flight ran late. That's why I wasn't here this morning. My apologies.
It's not a problem at all. We really appreciate you taking the time to see us.
Oh, anything for the Manleys. Sit down. So, what's it been like sitting in your mom's chair?
Well, she was in it for quite a while, so warm.
I bet. It's a shame Dottie needed to die in order to take some time off.
I mean, we all know she was never going to retire willingly.
Your mother was amazing, Joe. She helped me curate the entire board game offering. She was like a consultant to me and a dear friend. We sold a lot of board games together, and she is the one who taught me how to merchandise that entire section.
Well, hey, we came here to show you a new game we got. It's more competitive than ever out there. But you still got shelf space devoted to board games. And we know you need to move a truckload of them, or you'll have to discontinue the entire department.
Wow, Joe, you sound just like your mother. That's exactly what's going on, and you seem to understand my challenge. I've got about half the shelf space I used to have for games.
Half the space and twice the product.
Yeah.
Bill, I'm going to be honest. I think you should retire.
Get out while I can, huh?
Just grab what you can carry. But in all seriousness, I think we can actually help you. You've got limited shelf space, twice as many products with half the space, but we want to keep Bill Griffin working here for another 100 years, right?
That's all I get?
We want to give you games that we know will make you a lot of money and keep you in that chair until you're a skeleton. But you need to be able to stock it without sacrificing that precious shelf space. Find the Gold is that game, Bill. That's the name of it. Find the Gold. It's super simple, it's addictive, and it comes in a smaller box with that big old Dorothy Manley logo on it, just to remind you how much gold we've made you over the years.
We are positioning Find the Gold as the antidote for screens. We know you sell lots of video game consoles, but we think this one game can be positioned against those very consoles. You can sell both, but for families who are tired of screens, you need something new. Find the Gold is going to say it outright. If you're tired of screens, play Find the Gold.
That's interesting. Tell me more.
We're going to include signage with your purchase. Signage that says it clearly. If you're losing your family to screens, play Find the Gold and connect again.
You're going to help me sell the game.
We are.
I like that.
It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, Bill. Make a premium order, we stock and sign the shelves, and you have two departments competing against each other right there on your shelves. Only you win by playing both sides of the debate.
Well, I gotta say, families are really tired of screens. So how many would I need to order?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah, Bill. We want to give Smartmart the exclusive. We won't sell to anybody else for the entire fourth quarter. You buy our entire stock and you start raking in the bucks tomorrow.
What sort of stock are we talking about here, Joe?
70,000 units.
Whew, that's a lot.
But we will buy your stock back at full price the week after Christmas. But Bill, you're not going to have any left after Christmas. You're going to have to place another order for a spring restock.
I like the sound of this, but I'd have to let some of your competitors down in order to make room on that shelf.
Do our competitors make you the hero, Bill? Or do they only think about themselves?
Wow, you really are a chip off the old block, Joe. You've got a deal.
Dorothy Manley's got your game.
Pete and Joe finally learned how to clarify their message and make the customer the hero. They learned to give the right pitch to the right person by using the talking points that were given them at StoryBrand.ai. And what happened next? Exactly what could happen to you. Let's join the brothers back in the lawyer's office.
Well, 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 my boys. You gave it your best, and you failed. You took the company and ran it straight back into the ground from which I built it. Honestly, I can't say I'm surprised, but that doesn't change the fact that I will always be proud of you, even when you fail as
I'm sorry, can you
spectacularly as
pause?
have.
Are you sure this is the right tape?
It is.
It just feels irrelevant to the circumstances. Smartmart sold 5 million units in this quarter alone, and our stock prices are back to where they were before Mom died.
Yeah, we did really good. None of this applies.
Well, gentlemen, she only left one tape, which she left with these explicit instructions. Play this as soon as it's clear how they fared. In the event of failure, play the first part, and in the event of success, fast forward to... Yes, I see what happened. My apologies.
You know, a part of me wants to know what she said in the failure version.
Seems like she's talking for a long time.
Yeah, can we just hit play and watch both parts?
Too late. Here it is.
My boys, you gave it your best, and you succeeded. I can't say I'm surprised.
Okay, this feels devalued in a way.
I'll take it.
But listen to me. Even if you'd failed spectacularly, a scenario I never once foresaw or expected, even then, I would still be proud of you. You came together and kept the company prosperous, but more importantly, you did it by caring about people. You learned to see the world from the customer's perspective and to help them win. And you did it by coming together as brothers and as a family. I'm proud of you. Everyone's looking for a thrill, but what's real is family. Without family, you've got nothing.
She just quoted the Fast and the Furious.
Twice. One from 7, another from X.
10.
No, it's Fast X.
It's a Roman numeral.
The worst thing you can do to a Toretto is take away their family.
Is she well here?
She just straight up referenced the Torettos.
She's not going to die in the video, is she?
My point is this, boys. Keep on fighting, keep on dreaming, keep on selling, but as much as you can, do it together. Keep on daring to make and sell things that help families connect. And may you be richly rewarded for your effort. I love you.
Love you too, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
What?
Her final instructions were for me to hit it with this hammer.
Our mom was so cool.
If you want the StoryBrand brain to create your talking points for you, just visit StoryBrand.ai to discover the words that will differentiate you in the market and help you engage more customers. Go to StoryBrand.ai to create your free brand script today. Next, please enjoy this bonus conversation with Donald Miller, CEO of StoryBrand AI, Dr. J.J. Peterson, whose doctoral thesis centered on the StoryBrand Framework, and April Hawkins, who taught the StoryBrand Framework to more than 100 different businesses. In this bonus conversation, you will better understand why and how the StoryBrand Framework will work to clarify your message and grow your business. Please enjoy.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Donald Miller, and I want to thank you for listening to our radio drama, Pete and Joe Saved Their Mother's Company. Hopefully you enjoyed it, but I'm guessing that you probably would love more help creating a brand script of your own and clarifying your message. If that is the case, we have some bonus material for you that is going to be really terrific. We're going to walk you through the creation of a brand script, talk to you about why each part of the brand script is so important, what it's actually doing in your customer's mind when you clarify your message, and also share some stories of success from some of the many brands we've worked with. We've worked with thousands and thousands of brands, helping them clarify their message. And it feels like almost to a brand they have seen dramatic results. To help me with this, though, I'm not alone today. I am with April Sunshine Hawkins. Hello, April.
Hello, Don.
April is one of our facilitators. And how many private workshops teaching people the StoryBrand Framework have you done?
Over 100 for sure.
Over 100. In how many years?
I'm 7 years with the company, yeah.
Yeah. And how many people do you think were in all of those? Because you'll go into a corporation or a business and walk the C-suite or the entire group through the creation of a brand script.
That's right. Sometimes it's a small group of 4, but then sometimes there's 100 people in the room and they're all creating a brand script at the same time. So, I mean, it has been such a delight to be in these rooms with these teams and helping them clarify their message.
And just real quick, what do they do once they clarify their message? How do they employ those?
Oh my goodness. There are so many aspects. They improve their pitch decks. They improve their proposals. They, of course, put their new clear message on their website, in social media, basically anywhere that they are writing words to their customer, that's where their new message is showing up.
All right. Well, I think you're going to be helpful today as we help our listeners create a brand script of their own. Also with us is Dr. J.J. Peterson. Dr. Peterson is a longtime friend of mine. When I met him, he didn't have a doctor in front of his name, but you went and did your doctoral thesis on the StoryBrand Framework. Is that right?
Yeah, I wrote my dissertation on the StoryBrand Framework.
Well, glad to have you here. Can you explain to us a little bit about why, before we even start explaining the framework, maybe we hand it to you, Dr. Peterson, why does it actually work? Why does this framework work to captivate a human brain?
Well, everybody knows that story is incredibly powerful. We're all moved by stories, whether you're talking to somebody in person or watching a movie or reading a book. But there's actually a lot of research behind a specific aspect of it called narrative transportation. Narrative transportation is that moment when you're experiencing a story when you kind of lose awareness of everything around you and really just put yourself in the story. So if you've ever, cried in a movie, which I have a lot.
I've never done that.
then you've experienced narrative transportation, or if you've jumped when something scary happened, or
Again,
even just
not me.
left.
Doesn't apply.
This is
Zero
definitely
scared.
applying to me.
Well, any of those moments, people have experienced what's called narrative transportation. And the research shows that when people experience a good story, and they actually experience narrative transportation, that story actually has a profound effect on their mind and their attitude and even their actions. So specifically, things that it influences are attitude and belief. So a story can actually change your attitude and belief. It actually can reduce counter arguing. So people will stop, being so critical or ask too many questions.
You see this all the time, like even in debates where somebody really doesn't have a good point, but they'll tell a story about so-and-so, and she's a social worker who does this, and pretty soon you're just like, whatever you want, I believe whatever you want. It's the power of story.
It works. And in fact, the last thing is that it actually increases persuasive power. So a good story really changes everything. Now, the studies show that this happens in movies and books, which we've all experienced, but it goes further and shows that it actually happens in marketing. That narrative transportation can occur when somebody encounters a great story in a website, in emails, on social media. And the better the story, the more attitude and belief change happens, the more persuasive power the story has, less people argue against it. It's all those things happen. And really, there is one major key to making people experience narrative transportation, and it's actually called the quality of the narrative. So this is all kind of research-based. They've been able to study that the quality of the narrative, the better the story, the more narrative transportation, the more influence. And there's two pieces to it that really make something have really high quality. That is fidelity and coherency. So fidelity in storytelling really just is about the truthfulness or the realism of the narrative. Is it a true and real story?
Is it easy to believe? Even if you're in a sci-fi adventure, is it easy to believe that this world would work like this?
Exactly. And then that's fidelity. And then coherency really is the consistency and the organization of the narrative.
And I would imagine also in organization, the simplicity of it,
Yes.
right? If you have 1,000 characters doing 1,000 different things, we've lost the narrative transportation.
There's no fidelity in that story. There's no coherency because you have to tell, if you have 100 main characters, you can't keep 100 stories coherent. You can't keep them together. It has to be one clear, simple narrative. When those things happen, this is all research-based. This is what I studied in my dissertation, is that the more clear the story, the more simple, the more it sticks together, the more people experience narrative transportation. Therefore, the more power that story has to influence people's thoughts and actions.
Okay. So that explains really why the StoryBrand Framework works, because it forces you to be simple, coherent, consistent, and that explains why it gets people's attention. We should also explain at the beginning of this, just so you know, and I think you heard it inside of Pete and Joe's story, we should explain that we're not talking about telling your company's story or telling your story or telling your business's story. We're talking about inviting customers into a story in which they play the hero. So it's very different. People come to me all the time and say, Don, love StoryBrand the book. We have such a great story. We just need to learn how to tell it. And I usually say, that's great. There's a benefit to telling your story, but that benefit is not as great as inviting a customer into a story in which they play the hero and win the day using your product or service. That's the thing that makes them want to buy it. I think after they buy it, after they have a relationship with you, knowing your backstory may be interesting to them and may create an even deeper connection, but it is not the key to growing your business. In fact, often you don't even know the backstory of companies, or you might not even know the backstory of an incredibly popular politician because they're savvy. They are inviting you into a story in which you play the hero rather than making it about themselves. And so when we're talking about narrative transportation, we're really talking about giving the customer narrative transportation where they believe, buy into, and really understand themselves as a hero and how their life can be transformed when they buy your product and use it in whatever context they need to use it in order to win the day. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to help you go through what Pete and Joe learned. Repetition is the key, and you've already heard it 2 or 3 times inside the radio drama. But now we're going to talk directly to you about not a fictional story, about your actual business. We're going to do this by helping you create a brand script. So these are 7 talking points, 7 sound bites that you can create. You can put these 7 sound bites on landing pages, websites, keynote presentations, as April suggested, elevator pitches, lead generators, on and on and on. But the idea is that you've got 7 scripted sound bites that you want to repeat over and over. And I've always said marketing is an exercise in memorization. What I mean by that is your marketing should be a group of words that you repeat so often that your customer actually memorizes them. Because if your customer is deciding whether or not to buy something and they have your offer memorized, which means it was simple and repeated, they are much more likely to buy it rather than wonder what's in it for them if they actually spend this money. So super, super important. My guess is you've either downloaded this because you better want to understand the StoryBrand Framework, or let's be honest, you didn't read the Building a StoryBrand book because it was a little thick and you didn't get through the audio book and you thought maybe the story will help me. Well, we gave you the story. Now we're actually going to give you the sort of linear way to go through it. All right. If you want to create a brand script of your own, we created a tool for you at StoryBrand.ai. StoryBrand.ai is powered by what we call the StoryBrand Brain, which is basically open AI informed by my books, many of my lectures, coaching sessions, and over 100 single-spaced pages of instructions, prompts, rules that I typed in for all of the different assets that you can use at StoryBrand.ai. And you can create all sorts of things: brand scripts, taglines, landing page wireframes, lead generators, elevator pitches, keynote decks, proposals, press releases, on and on and on. In fact, we're working on one tool that we're shipping soon called Resources and Notes, where you can basically just sort of take a word processor and type into it and then use the StoryBrand Brain to cut and paste different notes out of artificial intelligence results into your notes. It's how I prepare for my podcasts, and it's absolutely what I wish so many other artificial intelligence machines would do. So if you want to use StoryBrand.ai to create an entire StoryBrand messaging and marketing campaign and much more, that's all there for you. To start creating your brand script and tagline, everything that you just heard about in Pete and Joe, that is all free for you. Just go to StoryBrand.ai, and then if you want the other assets, there's a small monthly fee. All right, you guys ready?
Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
do this.
If we were sitting across from our client, we would start with the character, the hero, which is your customer. And we would need to define something that your character wants, something that they need. Now, here, there are 2 mistakes that, in my experience, and April, you facilitated a ton of these workshops too, and JJ, you have as well. In my experience, the mistakes that people make with this particular soundbite, what is my hero, what does my customer want? They make 2 mistakes. One is they're too vague. So they'll say something like, well, my customer wants fulfillment, right? Well, fulfillment isn't sharp enough, right? Your customer wants more time with their family. Now, that's really something specific that we can get into. And so I think that's the big mistake. And again, the artificial intelligence will help you understand that you're being a little bit too vague here. The second mistake that people who are trying to make their brand script make is they define too many things that their customer wants. We know that if Jason Bourne wants to know who he really is and lose 30 pounds and marry the girl and adopt a cat, we have lost the plot of this story because this story is about too many things. So it takes a lot of discipline. And honestly, you kind of have to, there's a saying in writing, be willing to kill your darlings, right? You can only have one. Now, you can have one per brand script, maybe per product, per brand. Let's say you're going after different demographics. You've got, the retail buyer, the consumer. You've also got the B2B buyer, the wholesale buyer. You might have 2 different brand scripts there, as was suggested in Pete and Joe Save Their Mother's Company. So don't worry about that. You can create a bunch of different brand scripts for this product depending on who you're talking to. But within each brand script, it is best if what the customer wants is very specific and relatable. And it's also one thing, not 5 or 10. Dave Ramsey has adopted the StoryBrand Framework intuitively, honestly. Dave, we know each other. We've spoken to their team many times. But he understands that while he's selling mortgages and life insurance, or at least he can connect you with somebody you can buy a mortgage or a life insurance or all these sorts of things, he really is selling one thing, and that's financial peace. Financial peace as it relates to budgeting, as it relates to the software you're going to use, as it relates to your life insurance policy, as it relates to stock advice, things like that.
He's selling financial peace. And so what he did was he chose one thing, financial peace, that the entire company uses as an overall offer. And then each revenue stream fits under the umbrella of the one thing. So if you're creating a brand script for your overall brand, think of it as an umbrella offering. Now, if Dave were to offer quality of life, well, financial peace leads to quality of life. But if he offers quality of life, nobody knows what he sells, right? But if he offers financial peace, well, we know he's going to give us some financial advice and some stability as it relates. So that's the difference between being vague and being specific. The number one issue, and I'm curious about you, April, as you interact with clients, the number one issue that I come up with is I say, hey, be specific, be specific, be specific. And then they come back with something that is it's not specific at all. But we're so close to it. Mm-hmm. We feel like people know what we are talking about, and they don't.
They really don't.
No.
And they get really overwhelmed trying to define this really specific thing.
It is
because
important.
A lot of people feel like, oh no, if I put myself in a box and I choose one thing, it becomes very scary for them because they're like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to make money with all these other things that I know that my customer wants.
Right.
And it's just like, hey, let's take a deep breath here because this is just one piece of the framework.
Right.
And I find a lot of the time people are trying to fit the whole story into this one part
Don't do that
of the
to yourself.
framework.
That's too much pressure.
It's way too much pressure. And so getting people to clearly articulate the thing that they want gets all of our brains going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because whenever it's vague, our brain is searching for the direction. But if we can define the thing that they want, all right, I've got a plot point that I can take a look at.
And there's actually research and study behind this. I know maybe you might surprise that I'm bringing this in, but
we love it when you do.
It's called attentional bias. And so our brain is already kind of predisposed to search for images and for words. So if you're going online to Google something or search for a product, when a website pops up, your brain is actually looking for, trying to pay attention to, has attentional bias towards the words that you were already thinking about. So if I show up on a website and I say I'm looking for the best e-bike in Nashville, I went online to look for that, and I go to that website and it says find your next adventure. My brain is skipping over find your next adventure
and looking for the best e-bike in
best
Nashville.
e-bike. And if I don't see that, I'm gone. So when we're talking about specificity here, you can have words like find your next adventure on there, sure, but it has to include really the specific thing that you sell that people are looking for in order to get what they want.
It reminds me of my friend David Mara, and he has a company called Mara Labs, mara-labs.com. Don't mind promoting him. I'm not a sponsor or anything like that. But he changed some of the product descriptions on his products. He has a supplement company, things like broccoli that stop gut leak and things like that. And he just changed some of the descriptions of his products based on my suggestions and saw a 400% increase in 400% increase in sales.
Let's go.
And also, he's got major compliance issues. I mean, as a supplement company, you can't say this is going to help you sleep, or even if it's proven that it does, you're not allowed to say some things. I don't know the rules. But even with those challenges, it's not just your website, it's your Amazon product description. If you're putting it on Amazon.com, it's all sorts of ways that you're describing your product. This matters a lot, being specific. So we've got to define what the character wants. And, for my book, Building a Story Brand, it's the character wants to clarify their message so customers engage. It's literally the subtitle of the book. It also posits a little bit of a problem. I didn't realize that my problem was that I didn't have a clear message. So we sort of agitated a problem as well. But you want to get it very, very clear. And here's something else to know as you create your brand script. You're going to want to test this. Test it standing in line in Starbucks with a stranger. Test it on websites. A/B test it as email subject lines. You never really stop trying to clarify that message. And I'd say keep working on it until the next thing that you try makes it worse. And then go back. Go back to what you were using before. It's probably going to be slightly intuitive, but you will be shocked at what the market tells you is what they actually want. And I share the example, my friend Nicole Burke has a company called Gardenary. She's a mission-driven human being. She's a $4 million kitchen garden consultant. Can you believe this?
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
$4 million.
$4 million. And her stated goal is to get to $1 billion company. helping people start kitchen gardens. She's a wonderful person. And, we were talking, and she said, Don, what do you think of gardenary? It means making gardening ordinary. And I hate doing this to friends and people that I love. But I said, Nicole, I said, I don't know that anybody has ever woken up wanting to make gardening ordinary. I don't think it's ever happened. Like, somebody hasn't woken up going, gardening is just not ordinary, and it should be. You did, but I don't think anybody else has. I think people have woken up, though, and said, I'd really love to start a garden. And so she went and bought startagarden.com. And now she begins and ends all of her Instagram videos with her 1 million followers. But by the time you listen to this, she'll have 5 million followers, I'm sure. With I'm Nicole Burke at Gardenary, and I'm the one who helps you start a garden. If she can own that want, that desire for all the people who want to start a garden, if she owns those 3 words, she will have $1 billion company.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't know if you keep it at making gardening ordinary, you're going to do that. So it's incredibly important that you get this part right, and that it's extremely simple. If I say I want to make gardening ordinary, you might say, what do you mean by that? But if I say I help people start a garden, nobody goes, well, what does that? Explain that to me, right? You know exactly what that means, right? Best sandwich in town is probably going to sell more sandwiches than a delightful culinary experience. And so we don't want to be vague. We don't want to be vague. All right, so what you want to do is go to storybrand.ai. You actually want to start on your brand script. You're probably going to have to answer a few questions, and it's going to spit out some ideas for you. And you can put one of those ideas, and now you've got character on your brand script taken care of. Next, we move to the second of 7 sound bites, and that is the problem that your customer is having. That is likely the reason they're even going to your landing page or going to Amazon.com to buy your product or calling your sales rep back. The only reason people spend money or vote for somebody or get involved in a movement is to solve a problem. The problem is the hook. It's the hook inside of a story. If Jason Bourne wonders who he really is and struggles with his identity at the beginning of the movie, and the second scene is him getting an email explaining it to him, we have lost the plot of this movie. You just ended the movie. Yeah. Right? It's the problem that keeps you paying attention for so long. And so I have always said, if you want to grow your business or your movement, or if you want to get voted into the White House and you're running for president, talk 75% about your stakeholders' problem and 25% about your solution. Literally 3 times the amount of time you're talking about your product, you should be talking about the customer's problem. And you will, without question, see growth in sales. You will see it because you are helping people identify, oh, I do struggle with that. If you say, I'm a dog trainer, some people are going to do the math, and by math, I mean think through the idea of why they would need a dog trainer. But if you actually say, I'm a dog trainer, if your dog barks anytime somebody knocks at the door, you are making everybody who comes into your home feel unwelcome and uncomfortable. And after 3 sessions, that won't happen again because your dog will associate the knock at a door and being quiet with getting a treat. I'm a dog trainer. You're going to have so many more customers because you actually positioned your product as the solution to a problem. I think, April disagreed, JJ disagree if you like, I think of all of the 7 sound bites, this is the most important.
Speed agree.
He beat me to it.
Yeah. I would even say, we're speaking anecdotally here. We haven't done any research on this, but I would actually say that this is 50% of the power of your brand script is getting this one right. Of being able to say, if you struggle with X, then you need to buy Y.
It's so important because it makes people pay attention and it makes people stay in the story, right? If I'm telling you a story about my morning and I'm just listing my facts of what happened, I got coffee this morning. I sat on my couch. I got in the shower. I said goodbye to my kids. You're kind of like waiting
for the story to begin.
Yeah, you're like, what's the point, right?
Yeah. Nobody even opens their mouth to tell a story unless it's about overcoming a conflict.
Yeah. But if I said, I got coffee this morning, I was sitting on my couch, and all of a sudden I hear sirens down my street, and a car comes crashing through my kitchen window. But if I stop the story there and I just go, so Don, what are we having for lunch? You would immediately go, wait,
no.
What happened?
Right.
You want to know the story.
The problem in screenwriting terms, the problem opens a story loop. And when you open a story loop in somebody's mind, they want to close it. And so the key in good messaging and marketing is to say, what do I want to happen? Well, I want people to vote for me for Congress. I want people to buy my book. I want people to use me as their babysitter. Well, if that's the solution, you've got to open up a story loop at the beginning so that they have to buy your product in order to close it. You know, everybody's looking for a babysitter that they can trust with their children. Here's why you can trust me. Or hiring a babysitter can be so stressful because you just don't know whether or not you can trust this person. Here's why I am a trustworthy babysitter. By the way, if anybody is 16 years old and starting a business, this is I'm writing your copy for you. Here's your landing page right here. You know, I got certified by such and such. These 7 families say that I'm the only babysitter that they will trust, you know, and so on and so on. So you got to open a story loop before you can close it. And I would also say another mistake that so many businesses make is they offer to close a story loop they've never opened. They never actually opened the story loop in the customer's mind.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, like, you know, our dishwashing detergent doesn't use harmful chemicals. Okay, well, now I'm having to do the math to figure out why I don't want harmful chemicals, right? But if you actually say, if people use modern dishwashing detergent for more than 2 years, their hands age by about 10 years. Our detergent doesn't do that because it actually, while you're doing dishes, it softens your hands and brings, you see what I'm saying? You have to bring up the problem first. And one of the things that it does is the bigger the problem is in your stated messaging, the bigger the problem is, the more valuable the solution, the more the perceived value of the solution because it's a really big problem. You know, I have a friend who is a coach, and he charges literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to coach you for 1 year. $350,000 in today's money is what he charges for 1 year. He gives you 1 hour a month on Zoom, and that's it, 1 hour a month. And so I said, why in the world are you worth $350,000? He goes, I'm not worth $350,000 at all. But my Rolodex is. He said, if you're trying to sell your company, I probably know the buyer. And if you're looking for a chief marketing officer, I probably know who they are or where to get them. My Rolodex is going to solve so many of the problems that you have as a business leader. And by the way, I only work with 5 clients a year. Even I, who did not need this service, was like, should I be paying? Because, again, it's not the hour that he's giving you. It's the solution to the problem. That's where the value is. And so nailing the soundbite that defines the problem is incredibly important.
Yes, we're searching for the ding, ding, ding moment. That is my problem. Like when my customer comes to my website, we've got to make sure we're accurately describing the problem that they're going through.
And if they see that and they say, oh, that's me. And here's the other thing. The wonderful thing about defining the problem is if they don't have the problem, they likely know somebody who does.
Yeah. Exactly. And they're filing you in their brain, in their Rolodex, under the problem that you solve.
That's right. They're not filing you under your name or the name of your company. They're filing you, and you matter based on what problem that you can solve.
And so if you are struggling to come up with one problem, call up one of your customers and get them to articulate the problem and then put that language. We want this language to be really conversational, words that they would actually use in order to describe their problem. If they are problem aware, I understand, listener, that sometimes your customer isn't problem aware and you're having to make them aware of the problem. And so you've got to articulate it so that they understand, oh, I didn't even know I had that problem.
Yeah.
Now it's something I have to pay attention to.
April, you've worked with hundreds of companies to help them clarify their message. Have you ever facilitated a workshop where they just had an aha moment and realized this is it?
Absolutely. I was working with a construction company and they articulated their customer's problem as, you have a project vision, but it has limitations and complexity and time constraints. And you've got competing business interests, which leaves you wondering what you should approve, what you should deny, or what you should give a hell yes to.
I would think anybody going into a building project would go, that's us.
That's
right?
us.
And that's really what we're looking for, right?
That's what we're looking for.
That's us. JJ, why is it that human beings are so hooked by negativity?
Well, our brain is designed to help us survive. And so it's always scanning our environment for potential pain or threat that is coming against us. So when those show up in marketing, when you mention a pain or you mention a threat or you mention a problem that somebody's going to experience, our brain is more likely to pay attention to that and hone in and go, oh, maybe I am experiencing that. Or definitely say, I 100% am experiencing that.
That's why in a crowded room, you're probably going to notice the person who keeps coughing. It's like I could get that germ.
Well, I can be in a stadium full of people and I can ask the question, how many people in the stadium know how many chairs are here? And that's mundane information. But if I said, how many people here know where the exits are? Everybody raises their hand.
Because the subconscious.
Because the subconscious is going, if there is danger, if there is a problem, I need to know the solution to this problem, which is get out that exit.
Yeah.
And so when you bring up a pain point or a problem that a customer is experiencing, it automatically pushes them to start looking for a solution because they don't want to experience that problem or pain. They want to survive and they want to thrive.
We talk about agitating the customer's problem. You know, a lot of times if your customer doesn't feel the problem that you solve, like I feel for doctors who have to explain the dangers of high blood pressure, right? Because they call it the silent killer for a reason. You don't feel it. But for them to be able to say something like, if your high blood pressure persists, you're not going to get as many years with your children as you want. Now we're now we're on to it, right? We've found a problem and we've agitated that problem. And when I say agitate the problem, it sounds like I'm being manipulative, but what I'm really talking about is opening further the story loop, that I have got to solve this problem. You know, I've got to deal with this. And when you can get an open story loop in somebody's mind, their behavior, their attention is going to be to close that. And of course, your product is positioned as the way they close that. And so you've just got to get the problem right.
And so when you're creating this in your brand script, when you go to StoryBrand.ai and you go out and you are creating a talking point around your customer's problem, what you're really identifying is just answering that question, what problem is my customer experiencing that my product can solve? Yeah. That's the simple question you're asking, and you're writing down the response to that in your brand script. And then the big trick is it's got to go everywhere in your marketing. It's got to be on your website. It's got to be in your emails. It's got to be on social media. When you talk about your customer's problem, they will pay attention.
Yeah, and this is also the reason on the manipulative side why, you know, somebody, going back to the dish detergent example, in a commercial, you know, is trying to get spaghetti off their dish and they look up to the heavens as though their world is falling apart. everything is awful, and it's shot in this really dim lit room. And then the new dish detergent comes on and the heavens open up and the music is all delightful. And what they're doing is they're agitating the problem. And smart brands know what problems to talk about because they've anecdotally done the research. They've surveyed their customers. They've used StoryBrand.ai to figure it out. And it is the closest thing you can get to magic words. You know, when you actually state clearly what problem you solve, people lean in. They just lean in the same way they do when you're watching a movie and suddenly you realize that the young woman that this man has fallen in love with is dating his jerk brother. And how is she going to get out of that so that they can be together? I'm in, you know, and those are the tricks, if you will, the strategies that screenwriters use to reel us in. And you can use the same strategy when you're talking about your brand. It just absolutely works. All right. So after we define the problem, which again, I think is 50%. And in fact, if you just come up with that one soundbite and repeat it over and over, you will almost certainly see an increase in attention to your brand and hopefully purchases and revenue. After we define the problem, though, a character enters into the story. And the character has many names. I think Christopher Booker might call them the wizard. Robert McKee might call them the mentor or something like that. I can't remember what their technical names were, these story scholars. I call it the guide. And the guide enters into the story to help the hero win the day. And probably one of the more popular, if you will, story brand paradigm shifts is never play the hero, always play the guide. Position your brand or yourself as a leader as the guide in the hero's story who is helping them win. Now, there are two reasons you never want to play the hero. We talked about this in the radio drama. The first is the hero is actually a weak character. In every story, the hero is the second weakest character in the story. There is the victim, who is simply there to make the hero look good, to be honest with you, and the villain look bad, they are very, very weak. The hero is the second weakest. They're ill-equipped, afraid, unwilling to take action. They don't know how to get this job done. They're in desperate need of help because we need for this hero to sort of be an underdog in order to get that narrative transportation and care about them so that they achieve this. If you position yourself as the hero in the story, for instance, if I say, what do you do for a living? And you say, well, it's complicated. My grandfather started a company and we're trying to increase the great places to work metric here. And, I'm living in the shadow of his legacy. You've just positioned yourself as a hero in a story that I may be very interested in. I may root for you, but I'm not going to buy your product. You made it all about you. Instead, what you want to do is you want to say something like, years ago I struggled with this problem and I found a solution to it that worked extremely well. And now, when I meet people who struggle with this problem, I get really excited because I have a solution for them. Well, I just asked you to tell me your story, but you didn't. You told me the backstory of how you got interested in me being the hero and you being the guide. That is the key. It's the secret weapon. And often people say, Don, help me tell my story. And I say, I'm not going to help you tell your story, but I will help you make people think that you're telling your story when actually you're inviting them into a story. The key is to be the guide. The guide is the strongest character in the story. They have been there, done that. They have already conquered the hero's demons. Haymitch won the Hunger Games, right? Mary Poppins knows what she is doing when it comes to transforming a family. These are strong, capable characters. Daniel, in the King's Speech, has guided hundreds of people to get rid of their stutters, post-World War I trauma victims, to get rid of theirs. He is equipped. He is qualified. Why would you ever want to position yourself as a hero who's a weak character? The other thing that happens when you position yourself as the hero in the story is you remove yourself from your customer's story. So if I am the hero in the story and you are a hero in a story, we must be in separate stories. But if you are a hero in a story and I am a guide in your story, we're in the same story, and that story is yours, not mine. So this is incredibly important. April, I would imagine doing these 100 workshops that you've done, these thousands of people, this is a big deal that you go in and they are clearly positioning themselves as the hero. They think they have to. They don't even want to.
Oh.
They think they have to.
This paradigm shift is always the number one paradigm shift at every private workshop I go to. During the core concepts, while we're talking about this and I introduce the customer as the hero and position them as the guide, they just go, well, it's like you can see the light bulbs just happening
We've made ourselves the hero.
The room.
I've heard that a million times. We've made ourselves the hero.
And
oh, my goodness.
It makes sense. This is the seat that people are writing from, right? Like I'm sitting in the seat as a business owner and I'm typing an email and I'm going to write the word we over and over and over again. We do this, we do that, we've accomplished this, because that's the seat I'm sitting in. But whenever you have this paradigm shift, you are writing the words as if your customer is sitting in the seat reading the words, reading the story, and you're inviting them in. And so I'm always constantly asking people, when you write the word we, is there a way that you can turn it around and have the word you?
Go through your landing page, if you're listening to this, go through your website and circle everywhere that you're positioning yourself as the hero in the story and get rid of those instances. Circle everywhere that you're positioning your customer as the hero, which is probably none. And instead, add those. JJ, why is it that we are so interested in a guide instead of a hero? Why do we don't ignore people who position themselves as the heroes, but we don't buy from them. We are inspired by them, but we don't buy from them.
It all goes back to survival.
Yeah.
Each of us are the heroes of our own story. We are looking to survive and thrive in our story. So we're looking for people who can help us. If we see somebody else who's doing great and we may admire them and see them, but in some ways they become competition. And if you're talking about that in terms of a business relationship, if I am going to a car dealership and I see them, they're positioning themselves as the hero of their own story.
We're great. Here's why
all
we're
those
awesome.
Things, I start to subconsciously go, oh, they want to win. So they're not for me winning, they're for themselves winning. Now we're actually in competing stories. But if they actually position themselves as a guide in my story, now we both win in the process and we work together to help me win. So when a company makes themselves the hero, like you said, not only do they make themselves weak in the eyes of the customer, but they also are competing against their customer. And if you can say, hey, look, I experience problems just like you, what that actually does is play into another aspect of narrative transportation. One of the things that causes people to experience narrative transportation is empathy with the story they're hearing. So if a business offers some empathy, and I, as a customer, can have empathy for them because I know they had the same problem I used to have. They know what I'm feeling. I will actually begin to experience more narrative transportation in that moment.
Because you see yourself in that story. Yeah.
I see myself in their story, and I can see them playing a part in mine.
Wow. Okay. And those are the two things that you've got to do. StoryBrand.ai will help you with this when you try to come up with those sound bites. But the sound bites that position you as a guide have to do with empathy and competency. So empathy meaning I feel your pain. If you as a brand or you as a leader, remember, I think Bill Clinton actually said it. I feel your pain. Remember that when you guys were children when you ran for president. But you know, he strongly emphasized empathy. It's incredibly important. But that can't be enough. You also have to be competent. You have to have gotten 1,000 people out of this predicament. You have to have won some sort of awards. Your product has to be scientifically proven. So, you know, it's I feel your pain and I can get you out. I always say start your story with a hero in a hole and then demonstrate that you care about the fact that they're in a hole and you've gotten thousands of people out of that hole. And so the two statements that you want to come up with, the two sound bites that position you as the guide in your story, in your customer's life, is one sound bite that demonstrates empathy and another sound bite that demonstrates competency. And at that point, you know, think about where we've gone with these sound bites. We've identified what the customer wants. We've identified what pain they are in, which really agitates the problem. And now we have positioned ourselves as a guide. They are ready to place an order at this point, but they are not going to. JJ, I'm curious as to what your answer would be as to why they're still not going to place an order. They know we've got the product. We care about them. We've not muddled the message by telling our story. I mean, what's wrong with these people? Why aren't they placing an order yet?
They need to know how. Because you kind of get to that point of it's like, you got all this pain, I've got a solution, and then it would be like you walking away. And I'm just like stuck going, okay, but how do I get it? Or how does this work? I don't understand. And, you know, without telling them.
Dissonance. The reality is they're not going to tell you.
No.
They're not going to say, I really want this. Or they may even say, I really want this. But they don't know how to move forward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, especially if it's a long-term solution or an expensive solution, or there's some complexity in terms of adopting the solution, they're going to say to you, and how many times have you guys heard this, listeners included, how many times has somebody said to you, I'll get back to you? And what does I'll get back to you mean?
Delayed action, and delayed action is inaction.
Yeah, it's going to lead to inaction.
Yeah.
And so we talk about creating a soundbite that is essentially a plan. It's a 3-step plan. We like 3 steps because it's simple, it's easy to understand. You know, like if I'm trying to sell you a complex software solution, it might be download the software, install your database or your contacts into the software, and begin using it. That all sounds really obvious, except it's not. What the buyer had was cognitive dissonance about how this works. And when you show me 3 steps, which is essentially a psychological bridge from the customer's problem to your solution, 3 steps are actually quite magical. And whenever you build a bridge across a raging river, people tend to use the bridge and not try to swim across the river. And without the bridge, you've got a raging river between their problem and your solution. But with a bridge, it's much easier. But, you know, we always say never make your customer think. Ever. Never make your customer think. There was a box of Pop-Tarts once that said, open the Pop-Tart, put it in a toaster, eat the Pop-Tart, literally on the box. Now, this is a major billion-dollar company. They sold more Pop-Tarts when they told you how to eat a frickin' Pop-Tart. And it goes back to never make a customer think.
Well, you're going to start seeing, everybody who's listening is going to start seeing 3-step plans everywhere. And they're there for a reason, because our brain actually views 3 as complete. It's actually holistic, and we see it as a beginning, middle, and end.
1 and 2 is binary, but 3 is infinite in the psychological.
And when you go beyond that, there's some other complications that happened. But think about this. Like when you have an emergency, you're supposed to dial what phone number?
911.
Yep. That's intentional. It's 3 numbers, easy to memorize. When you catch on fire, you're supposed to
stop, drop, and
roll.
Yeah.
We learned that as kids. We all still remember that.
Yeah.
I still remember my childhood home phone number because it's actually the way it's designed. This is very intentional. It's not designed as you're memorizing 10 numbers. You're memorizing three sets of numbers.
Yeah.
An area code, a city code, and a personal code. So this is used in design, and they've studied this.
I never thought about that. Yeah. That many numbers, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's 10 numbers. It would actually be very hard to
It is.
memorize.
But when you break it into 3 separate numbers, that was intentional with the design. We now
and
memorize
2 of those
it
numbers
much
are
easier.
three digits.
Exactly. So you're going to see this everywhere. You see it in marketing, the few, the proud, the Marines. You're going to see it, all over the place.
You've done a deep dive into this. I'm going to start using these examples.
But it's there for a reason, because our brain works that way. We memorize things in what's called the rule of threes. I call it the rule of threes. It's often used as a rule of 3 in comedy, but our brain memorizes things in 3s easier. We see it as complete, and so we are more likely to remember. Now, when you get beyond 3 and you actually get to multiple steps, say 5, 6, 7 steps, 1, you're causing people to memorize too much information. You're overwhelming them. But the other part is that there's been a study, it was actually published in Forbes, that looked at, they used an MRI to look at brain activity.
You're kidding.
For people as they were giving them multiple choices. And they began to see that the activity and the amount of we'll call it calories burned in making decisions grew exponentially each time you added another choice or another step.
So it didn't grow by like 10% with each choice. It grew by 50% and then 100% and then whatever the numbers were.
Because basically the first choice, when you have to kind of decide or move forward on 2 things, there is what they would call a cost. Then you add a third option. Now you add more cost to that decision making.
This is reminding me, JJ, I just did an executive physical, like a health check. Mm-hmm. And they stuck a blood pressure monitor on me. And I was like, okay, this is nice. Because we're going to do a stress test. And I just wondered, okay, how are they going to stress me? And she goes, I want you to say your ABCs. And I was like, oh, okay. She goes, backwards. And my blood pressure goes,
because your brain was having to think more, right?
Think.
And so it's the same thing
when you give test, by the way.
When you give people more to think about, essentially what you're doing is you're causing them to have to work harder.
Yeah.
When you take information about how to do business with you, or
what it
looks like to do business with you, you don't want to make them think too hard. So you can even if your process takes 10, 15, 20 steps to go through, you really want to narrow that down to 3 simple steps that somebody can understand, grasp, and ultimately memorize much easier than 4, 5, 6 steps.
And also visually, just on a website or a landing page, when you see working with us is easy, 1, 2, 3. You used one of my favorite words, and that is easy. Right? A lot of us, because we have such complex solutions and we've put so much work into these solutions, we like to brag about how difficult it was to come up with this. Instead of saying, we have created a simple, intuitive solution to your problem. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1, step 2. For instance, let's just use the example of a financial advisor. We do an intake session where I hear about your financial goals and your risk assessment, your risk desire or whatever that is that you're willing to put up with. Second, I give you a custom strategy. And 3, you can hire me and I hold your hand to execute that strategy if you wish. You've done 2 things right there. You've made it easy for me to understand what this process is going to look like. You've actually given me a really easy, free, risk-free first step. And also, by the way, a risk-free second step. There's no risk until the 3rd step. And by the way, if I invest in the first and second step, I'm much more likely to chase that investment. That is a very smart strategy, especially when it comes to complicated solutions. But let's not think it doesn't work on simple ones. Again, I use the example of eating a Pop-Tart, and they're going to sell more Pop-Tarts. April, again, you've worked with a lot of people. What are some 3-step plans that other businesses have come up with that we can learn from?
Let me tell you first that this is one of the most difficult parts of every
Because there's always
single
27 steps.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
And people have the curse of knowledge. We haven't talked about Lee Lefevre yet, but Lee Lefevre came up with the curse
He wrote a
of
book
knowledge.
called The Art of Explanation, right?
Yes.
His book is such a brilliant guy.
Brilliant. And in the curse of knowledge, you are sitting at a level 10 of knowing everything about your business, and you're trying to simplify it down. And what Lee Lefevre says is you got to really simplify it all the way down to level 1 and 2, especially in your marketing message, because that's where people are just learning about you.
Yeah.
And so people try to do that, but they narrow it down and they end up in the 3 to 6 range. And that's what's happening whenever we get into creating plans with people. They're trying to get into that 3 to 6 range, but they're still complicating the plan with way too many words. And so in the private workshop, we just continue to push until we get to those very simple Pop-Tart level plans. And so one of my favorite plans that we came up with on private workshop was for a company that does home buying, selling, and renovation all under one roof.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated process. It can be. But they were like, it's going to be super simple. We're going to meet up, then we're going to team up, then we're going to raise our glasses up.
They made a great, I saw that video that they made that
Yeah.
had those three.
Yeah.
That was amazing. What happened to their sales, by the way?
They've expanded territories, right? They were just in the Fort Worth area, and now they've expanded out to different areas around Fort Worth. I'm so pumped for them because they made it so simple that everybody can
Here's
repeat
what it looks like to work with us.
what the plan is, and they understand it so simply and clearly.
Somebody in the room might say, but it's not just Meetup. We actually look at your existing house and they're adding steps and they're adding complexity. And to JJ's point, the cost of making your customer think the blood pressure cuff, if you will, is starting to overheat because you're giving them way too much information.
Yeah, so we just really want to make it simple like this. And I love their third step of raising your glasses up on the front porch of a home that feels like you, right?
Yeah.
It's this, we're calling people into the future as well. We're making it simple and helping them see, oh yeah, these are my guide. I want to follow this plan.
And there is a place to go deeper on this once you get people in the door on sales calls in that first meeting.
We're talking about the initial interaction.
So would you really explain what the meetup and team up looks like if somebody's on the phone with you? Absolutely. Could you have a slide deck that had a few things that walked through? Absolutely. But on that first pass, when somebody's coming to your website or you're having to explain to them very quickly how the process works, it's got to be simple, it's got to be clear, and it's got to be easy.
By the way, in that meetup, in the actual business strategy, you could walk into that meetup and say, so glad you guys decided to meet up. It's our first step in getting this project done for you. There's 3 things we're going to do at this meetup. And you can actually have a sub-plan inside of the plan. But there is something magical about not just 3, but probably the fewer things that you can, they've done these studies, JJ, you and I were talking earlier about 12 versus 24. And 12 steps greatly outperform 24 in terms of how many calories or the effort that the brain, and by the way, it is literally calories that the brain is burning processing information. It burns more calories than any other organ in your body, if I'm not mistaken. And when you actually tax it with saying the ABCs backwards, they gave me another one. They said, count down from 777 backwards in 7s. I thought, I just ripped that cup right off. Stop testing me. The whole StoryBrand framework exists so that you can come up with sound bites that don't make your customer have to think. Just don't make them think. All of the calories, by the way, that you're putting into the effort of clarifying your message, if it costs 10,000 calories and 40 hours of work for you to clarify your message, all of those calories do not have to be burned by your customer in order to buy your product, and that's the goal. All right, moving on. Now the customer knows what they need to do. There's a bridge that's clearly going from, your problem, their solution. I think a significant percentage of qualified buyers are in. However, some of them are not. And we want all of them, right? The next step is to actually ask for the money, to call them to action, and to state very, very clearly what it is that they need to do in order to solve this problem, which is pull out your credit card and place an order. Both of you guys see this all the time. When you look at somebody's landing page or their marketing collateral, we see things like learn more or get started rather than buy now. which is a direct call to action. I always make the joke when I'm giving a public speech of, ladies, if you were at a cocktail party and I came up to you and motioned toward myself and said, learn more, would you be remotely interested? And my guess is you've learned everything that you need to learn at this point. You're out. It's just weird. It's passive aggressive. And really what we need to say is it's time for you to buy this. I'm not somebody who likes asking for the money. Whenever I'm in front of an audience and I say, if you like asking for the money, if there's 1,000 people in the room, 12 of them are going to raise their hand. That's actually a pretty accurate number. Very few people enjoy asking for the money, but you have to have a statement that asks for the money. And let me just give you a formula for this. If you are struggling with X, the right decision is to buy Y. That's it. That's how you ask for the money. If you are struggling with X, the right decision is to purchase Y. Can I write up your order? That's it. And I learned that when I bought a watch years ago. I was going to buy a watch when my company hit a certain point. And 2 years after it hit that point, I still hadn't bought the watch because I grew up poor and you didn't buy watches, that cost money. I've since gone to therapy. I have nice watches now. But I went to the jewelry counter. I'd done this 5 or 6 times. I looked at a watch. It's like an $800 watch. It's not a very expensive watch. But I looked at the watch, put it on. The guy said, what makes you interested in this? I said, well, my company hit a certain point and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, Don, that's really great. Congratulations. Would you like for me to box this up for you? And I said, no, I'm going to think about it. Well, he knows he's going to lose this sale. So he said, hey, can I just ask you a few questions? You like this watch, right? Yes. You have the money for the watch, right? Yes. You have a good reason to buy the watch, yes. Right? Yes. And I go, and then he said, I think this watch is the right decision. He literally said that. I think this watch is the right decision. Would you like for me to box this up? And I said, yes. I felt like he had like a pocket watch and he was dangling it in front of me. And I was so happy. I've been trying to do this for years. And later when I walked away, I thought, that guy was a really good salesman. It wasn't that he coerced me or tricked me. What he did was affirm that this was the right decision. And in your brand script, what you want to do is affirm that buying this product is the right decision if you are struggling with X. Because the cognitive dissonance is always one question, and that question is this the right decision? Let me get back to you does not mean I want to say no. They actually want to buy it. What it actually means is I need to get clear on whether or not this is the right decision. And as soon as I walk out of this room, by the way, my kids are going to need to be put to bed, and I got to figure out how to return a call to that client, and there's weeds in the garden, and on and on. They are not going to give it any more thought. They are right there in the room now. So you need to actually close the sale right here by saying, if you are struggling with this, I believe this is the right decision. And if you'll pull out your credit card, I'll go ahead and write up this order. And you will be shocked at how many people just do it. Because that's all they were wondering. Is this the right decision?
Of course. We love this part of the framework so much because it's the part that's going to help people be the most successful.
Yeah.
I was in a private workshop last week and the CEO was like, where are our calls to action? like he was asking he was new to the organization. He'd only been there 4 weeks. And he was like, we don't have calls to action. We're not in business if we don't have calls to action on our website. And it is
You're
so
hoping
true.
people can figure out that
yes.
you can give them money, right?
And so
they're not going to.
You have to be clear. As a guide, you have to be clear. And Dawn, I remember you did this at one of our live workshops one time. You were teaching at the front. You came to this section of the framework and you said, hey, everybody, come outside. I want to show you something. You got up from the front. You walked out
of the room.
Everybody followed you out to the corner of like Broadway and wherever we were, downtown Nashville.
250 people, by the way.
Yeah, so many people. And then you just got up on a thing with a megaphone and you said, people will go where you lead them. And then you just let us all back inside. And
I wanted to illustrate the point so everybody understood. People will actually do what you tell them to do.
Absolutely they will. It's just like playing the game Simon Says. And so as a guide, you have to...
And it's not because you've coerced them. It's because they want the solution.
Absolutely. It's why you're in business in the first place.
Yeah.
And so after telling them what they want and articulating their problem and setting yourself up as the guide and showing them how it's actually going to work, then you've got to say, this is what you need to do. This is the right decision.
Well, two anecdotes here. One is, April, it's the reason you're sitting in this room. You,
Yes.
specifically, April Sunshine Hawkins, because you wanted to work here.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually, when we were a much smaller company, you sent a small gift to, I think, every member of our staff.
Yeah,
And, people were applying like crazy and we're going through. And April, JJ, did you know this? She said, well, did you get one of these gifts?
Oh, yeah.
I got a hammock.
Yeah, I got a speaker.
A speaker?
Yeah.
So she found out a little bit about us. She sends a gift to every member of the staff and said, hey, just want to make sure that I stand out in the crowd. I really want to work there. I knew why this gift was in my hand. I knew that, and I think it was within a year, April was on staff. And it's because it was super, super clear. By the way, it's the reason I'm married. I had a crush on my wife for at least 2 years. And finally we sat down and I said, I want to take you on a date. I know you have a boyfriend. 30 days from now, I want to call you and ask you out. If you still have a boyfriend, that's going to be uncomfortable. I think we need to cut this guy loose. And 30 days later, I called, she doesn't have a boyfriend, and now we're married with the kid. So
incredible.
I think a lot of it is affirm that this is the right decision. But the other part is don't make them think. Don't make them read your mind. You have made it abundantly clear that you have the solution to their problem. And they have the problem. And they literally will walk away from that conversation going, gosh, I wish they would have just sold me that because it would solve my problems. They will literally say, I got to go find somebody who has a solution. I guess they didn't want to sell it to me.
Well, Forbes published a study that said 70% of businesses in America don't have a strong call to action on their website.
Amazing.
70%.
It goes back into that people don't like asking for the money.
That's the thing is they think it's going to be
because
pushy.
They're good people. They don't want to be transactional. I get it. I understand.
And they think they're being pushy. It's not being pushy. It's actually a gift.
Yeah.
And so even on your website, all you need to have is a button that says buy now, shop now, schedule a call. It needs to be clear. It needs to be obvious. And it needs to take that customer on the journey to show them what is the next step they need to take in order to buy your product or service. If you do that alone, according to Forbes, you're going to be in the top 30% of businesses in America because those 70% who are not doing it are missing out on so much money. Because like you said, if you said learn more, think about that just for a second. If you're talking to somebody and I asked them the question, do you want to learn more? And they're like, actually, I'm good. They've now closed the story loop because they answered the question no. The story's done. So they think their job is done. Instead, if you say, you ready to schedule an appointment or when can I deliver this for you? Now they have to close the story loop with an act. Yes. Right. So they have to act in order to close that story loop. But if you just say, do you want to learn more or do you have any more questions? Reach out and they go, no, I'm good. That story's done because they've now completed the action that you called them to. You have to call them to an action of buy now, shop now, schedule an appointment. What day do we deliver this? Because that will then push them to complete their story loop and come to a place where their problem is solved. Otherwise, they're not going to act.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like we're done. That's the end of the brand script. We've asked for the money. But there's still a small percentage of people who are not going to place the order. And we have some icing on the cake at the end of the brand script that is incredibly important in terms of a screenwriting exercise if you're trying to write a movie. And that is the stakes. Something has to be won or lost based on whether or not I make this purchase. If nothing can be won or lost based on whether or not I make this purchase, you remove all urgency. So we want to create this great sense of urgency of I need to act on this. And what that means are negative stakes and positive stakes. Positive stakes is the obligatory foreshadowed climactic scene at the end of the movie. I call it an obligatory scene because at the beginning of a movie, if we have a meet cute and a couple meet each other and there's all sorts of chemistry and then all of a sudden the man's jerk brother walks in and turns out they're engaged and yet I love this woman and now she's engaged with my jerk brother. The obligatory scene, the scene that the screenwriter is obligated to give us is the right couple together at the end of this, right? And if you say the roof tiles that we can actually put on your roof will last 60, not 30 years, and by the way, they'll stop that leak and that mold from happening in your attic, I have created an obligatory scene in the mind of the consumer, and that is a roof that lasts 60 years and no more mold in my attic. And if you say, we've got a really great roofing product that lasts twice as long as the one you have, you've done okay. But you haven't created that clear obligatory scene that I will head toward. And when we have a vision of a better future, we tend to head toward that vision. So we've identified the problem, and the solution to the problem, what life will look like, is in this obligatory scene. If you're a real estate agent, one way I say to close the sale is, Jim, Nancy, we've just toured this house. This house is in your budget. Jim, you talked about wanting a fence in the backyard. We've got a fence. No more roaming the streets at 2 a.m. looking for your lost dog. Nancy, 2 sinks in the master bathroom. When you get up, you don't have to share a sink with Jim. That's what life looks like if you guys buy this house. By the way, under your budget and in the right school zone. I affirm, if you will, don't use that language, but I believe this is the right house for you, and it is a great decision to make an offer. Would you like for me to write this up? I've just given you a vision of what your problem solved to you, Jim and Nancy. I've just affirmed that it's the right decision, and I've just asked you to sign the document. That is incredibly clear. If you don't say that, by the way, Jim and Nancy are going to say, well, we've looked at a lot of houses today. Let's go back and think about it. And they're going to go back, and they're going to have to put the kids to bed, and they're going to have to make dinner, and there's weeds in the garden, and they're going to lose the opportunity. You've got to do the thinking for them and make that incredibly clear. And part of that is, what is the vision of the future?
Let me give you an example. So there's a video production company. They have created a video for themselves to actually sell their services, and they paint what's at stake so much.
As to whether or not a business uses them to make their video?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, basically, the whole story structure is within this video, and we're following a potential customer who's searching for a video production company. Her boss has come up to her and said, hey, we need you to make a video, but you've never made a video before. So that's like the problem, right? And the failure and success is tied to that problem. Is she going to be able to make a great video for her company? And so at the end of the story, we see her and she's shuddering at the thought of going with Uncle Bob, because that was an option, right? Like, I could go with
Uncle Bob,
I could go with Uncle Bob. Somebody's
and
Uncle Bob
his VHS
does
camcorder?
exactly. Like, they're showing that, and she's shuddering at the
So
thought
negative stakes.
of doing that. That's failure. And then success is everybody lifting her up on their shoulders in this office scene that is in slow motion. Her face is full of joy, and there's like a congratulatory banner on the back wall, and we can feel the relief and the excitement, and we can see in the future, oh yeah, she's going to go with Guy Bauer. Guy Bauer is this video production company that's going to help her achieve this and avoid
How great for them. They actually
Uncle
made
Bob.
a video that actually tells the story of what happens when you make a video.
And both pieces, the negative and the positive, are incredibly important.
Yeah.
The positive, why it's really important, is because it allows people to imagine a better future. When you call people to imagine, you're calling them to narrative transportation again. So this all kind of goes back to that narrative transportation of, if they can picture themselves in the future with a roof that doesn't leak, with their coworkers celebrating them because of this video, or on the front porch of their house lifting up a glass and toasting, when they can imagine themselves in that moment, that's the positive stakes. What that does is allows them to experience narrative transportation, which means, again, that the story will have more influence on them. However, the negative stakes, or the failure in the story, is really important as well, because there is some research that talks about loss aversion theory. And what this is all based in, it's by this guy named Daniel Kahneman, who actually won a Nobel Prize for study
research,
in this. He's an economist, and he kind of studied people's willingness to act based on either gaining something positive or avoiding loss. And what the research, there's been tons of research that's happened around this, and they've really shown that people are 2 to 3 more times likely to act if they're avoiding some kind of loss or pain than they are if they're going to gain something. Meaning, people are more likely to act if they're afraid of losing $100 than they are of gaining $300.
That feels true even as you say.
And so it goes back to that survival piece where our brain is always kind of looking out for pain and struggle.
Yeah, we want to avoid pain more than we want to experience joy.
Exactly. So you have to have a little bit of that in your messaging. Now, I would say you don't want to go manipulative and kind of go long-term failure. And what I mean by that is, when I say, like, when you get this new roof, you're no longer going to have mold in your attic, right? But if I went further with it and said, if you don't get this roof, not only might you get mold in your attic, but your kids might get sick and die.
Yeah,
right?
That's when you're really you're raising the stakes.
You're raising the stakes really high. But that's when it starts to, people don't want to identify with that. Again, they're trying to avoid that pain, so they don't even want to pay attention to that story. So it has to be in there to make people pay attention.
But you can't
manipulate and
it.
go too crazy with it.
Yeah.
So both work together. The positive works to call us to a brighter future, a happy ending for our story, and really encourages that narrative transportation to take hold. But the failure part gets our attention and moves us to act quicker. There's actually something at stake and creates a sense of urgency so that we can avoid the pain or loss that we would experience without this product or service.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that makes complete sense. And it's why it's so important to have negative messaging. And I hate to even call it negative messaging, because if you have a solution to the problem, it's all perceived as positive messaging. It's not perceived as negative at all. In fact, the darker it is, the brighter the light. The darker the challenge the hero has to overcome, the more hopeful and inspiring the story is. Right? If Rudy wants to play for Notre Dame and he's 6'5" and 280 pounds of pure muscle, there's not much of a story there, right? I mean, it's got to be like, no, Rudy is not going to make this happen. And finally does. Look at what he's overcome. And so the more conflict you add, the more negative stakes at the end, the greater the urgency, the better the story, the more exciting, the more riveting the story is. And so the last two sound bites that you need are success and failure. And if you go to StoryBrand.ai, it will give you some great suggestions on that after you enter some input. All right, I want to show you guys some things. I actually went to the artificial intelligence engine that works with StoryBrand AI, and I asked it for, give me a summary of three different things. One is the Bourne Identity movie. So we'll see what it did. This is not, by the way, off the back of the Blockbuster VHS tape. I'm going to give you an $8.5 billion used car brand. I'm not going to say their names. I don't have their permission, but you'll get it. And then I'm actually going to summarize in one short paragraph our entire conversation. Does that sound good?
Oh, I'm pumped.
Okay, here we go. Jason Bourne wants to uncover his true identity, what the hero wants, but is being hunted by assassins without knowing why. The problem. He meets a woman named Marie who helps him navigate his journey to self-discovery, the guide. His journey leads him to investigate clues about this past, evade pursuers, and confront the truth about his identity, his former role. That's the 3 steps. Bourne must decide whether to face his past or continue to run, the call to action. If he fails, he will continue playing the pawn in a corrupt system, negative stakes. But if he he will uncover the truth and break free from those attempting to kill him. Nick, you want to read the movie? Are we going to watch the movie or read the book?
I want to rewatch it. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, let's look at how this would work in an $8.5 billion. By the way, this is a brand script very similar to the one that they use, and they've made $8.5 billion. By the way, that number is about 3 years old. I don't know what they're making now. I'm not going to say the name, but you probably know who it is. All right. Our customer wants to buy a reliable used car, what the customer wants. The problem is she doesn't trust used car dealers, the problem. We empathize with her frustration and promise a transparent buying experience, empathy, and authority. Our plan is to help her browse our wide selection, take a 24-hour test drive, and purchase the car with a 30-day money-back guarantee, 3-step plan. After 24 hours, she's invited to experience our no-haggle buying process, the call to action. That helps her avoid stressful negotiations, negative, and results in a fair deal on a reliable used car. Think about that. If you sent that out as an email saying, hey, are you looking for a car? You probably want to buy a good used car. But the problem is you don't trust used car dealers. That is a fantastic email.
I've taken their call to action multiple times.
I bought 2 cars from that particular chain, and probably a lot of the people listening have too. All right, let's see how good we do. The audience can decide. This is a very short summary explaining the framework. Let's see how we do. All of us want to be heard and understood, but it's difficult to get people to pay attention. This StoryBrand Framework has helped over 1 million people clarify their message. The key is to use 7 specific sound bites that invite people into a story. When you clarify your message, people will finally engage. But if you don't, you will continue to be ignored.
And that is why I sent you the gift tool. I could work here.
Well, of course, none of this does any good to you unless you actually go to StoryBrand.ai. We've put a lot into this tool. I'm very, 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 very proud of our D&D team for what I almost got choked up because I know them personally, and we all know them personally. They've done a great job with this, and we will continue to improve it. But you clarify your message, and people will listen. By the way, if your competitor clarifies internalize their message and you don't, they're going to put you out of business. It's going to happen. JJ, in your dissertation, you talk about why the StoryBrand Framework works to create narrative transportation. But what is the number one mistake that people make that causes it not to work for them?
They don't implement. That really...
So they listen to, let's say, an audiobook.
Yes, and they don't do anything with it. So my dissertation, I wanted to answer two questions. The first question was, does narrative marketing work? And that came back very quickly through narrative transportation, everything else. Yes, narrative marketing is the most powerful marketing you can use. My next question I wanted to answer was, who does it work for? And so I looked at every variable I could think of. If you are a man, if you are a woman, if you are a huge company, a small company, if
you're a nonprofit,
B2B, B2C, you sell industry, you sell service. It didn't matter. No variable had influence on whether you were successful or not with narrative marketing. It worked for all of them. There was only one variable that really applied across the board, and that was level of implementation. So if you just understood the framework and you started thinking about it, and maybe it snuck in here or there, you saw a little bit of growth in your business. You saved time in creating marketing, your team was happier, and you engaged more customers, made more money, profit, and revenue. Now, if you applied it then to one area, like your website, you saw increase in all of those. If you then went the next step and put it in your website and in emails, saw an increase in that. Every single step you took to apply this across your marketing, you saw a greater success in what you got out of it.
This process has worked for big businesses, small businesses, nonprofits, individual leaders. It worked to get Donald Miller a date and eventually married.
It worked. It's so crazy because I was just looking at the list of the top 20 companies in the world, the Fortune 20, and we've worked with 20% of them. So
in person.
In person. So
yeah, probably more of them as they read the book.
What we just talked about is being used by, laundromats in town and bakeries in town and construction companies in town. But also I can look at that list and say, we've worked with 20% of the Fortune 20. It works for all of them. It works for everybody as long as you implement.
JJ, when you talk about implementation, it fires me up. And that is because this is where we see success for our customers, for our heroes of our story, like Amy Porterfield. You guys know Amy Porterfield, right?
Yeah.
She is a New York Times bestselling author of 2 Weeks Notice. She's the host of Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. Here's what she said after her private workshop with the two of you. StoryBrand is the best thing to happen to my conversions in a long time. After rewriting one webinar registration page using the StoryBrand framework, the page converted at 60% to a cold ads audience. Are you kidding me?
60%?
Yes.
No, wait a second. I've heard this, but I don't think I was paying attention. She put out ads and 60% of the people who saw the ads actually clicked on it?
Cold ads audience.
That is nuts.
Yes, it's unheard of. This is what she said. She said that's unheard of. Unheard of is in capital letters. I especially love that StoryBrand always puts the customer first, which aligns with my company's core values. And it doesn't hurt that sales have never been better. We now use the StoryBrand framework for every sales page, homepage, email, anywhere in my business that we write copy.
That's amazing. I mean, there's so many stories. I did a sort of a thought session with some folks who, they have a company, Spectrum Brands. It's underneath that brand, but they dominate the fish food aquarium market at pet stores in America. So I don't know how many millions and millions of dollars they make. But they came to me and said, Don, we're selling a lot of stuff to hobbyists, but we can't break into families. So we got together, we spent a full day together talking about this problem, and they're making plenty of money, but they just feel like there's a family opportunity here. And so at the end of the day, we came up with a lot of messaging ideas, and one of them was Kids Love Aquariums. And they put Kids Love Aquariums on aquariums, they put it on fish food, they put it on signage, and they did one test market. And I was very curious whether something that simple would actually work, right? I'm like, does this really work? And they called me and said, hey, can we come to Nashville? We just want to meet with you. And I'm like, you want to fly here to meet with me? Like, we already met? I'm thinking, oh no, this probably didn't work and they want their money back or they want to talk it through. And got together in my office and said, well, I just wanted to tell you in person that we saw a 99% increase in sales.
I got goosebumps just now.
In the test market. So they're rolling it out nationwide. Words matter. They just matter.
They matter in the pitching room. I was texting with Brandon Borland. He works at a company called FSGI. He's in a room full of committee members trying to convince them that they should pick FSGI as their contractor for this lighting that they sell. And he's like, we're still chugging along and seeing big results. $1.532 million have been attributed to StoryBrand since May. Another 1.5 million are in the pipeline.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, come on, implementation people. Go to storybrand.ai.
Yeah, okay. I've got more stories. I was in Las Vegas. I'm not trying to one up you guys, but I was in Las Vegas. 250 account executives in a room for a company called Calix, and Calix is a broadband rural services company. A group of people that I just adore. I love working with these guys, and they said, "Don, can you speak to our account executives? Just talk to them about how StoryBrand can be used to sell things. Like these are account executives, they're sales reps." And so I went on stage and I said, "Hey, what if instead of me giving a talk, we just like open up our computers and email customers right now?" And, like very small percentage of the room had their laptops, but, those who did kind of open them up and the other ones were taking notes. And so just promise me that you'll send this email. And we wrote it together. And of course, it started with what does the customer want? And then what is their problem? And then what is how do we position ourselves as the guide? What's the 3-step plan? What's the call to action? What's the negative stakes? What's the positive stakes, right? Just, if you will, a few sentences in an email. And I said, let's do it. Let's hit send and let's just see what happens. About 48 hours, maybe 72 hours later, our office got a call from the chief revenue officer. And the chief revenue officer said, we have never seen anything like this. And they think they've already closed, 3 days later, they think they've already closed $2.5 million in sales from the emails that went out from not just that room, but those who went back to their hotel rooms.
Yes.
And so, again, the words matter. And maybe, if you are struggling, if your company is struggling, your business is struggling, it might not be the product, might not be your people, might not be any of that. It might just be the words that you're using. Maybe your offer just isn't clear. And I want to emphasize, this isn't about manipulation. It isn't about coercion. It's not even about sales. It's about clarity. What happened with those emails is the customer opened that email. Now, all of these customers, I said, the qualification here is they're sitting the fence. So they already know about the product. They already know what it is. They're sitting the fence. If they're sitting the fence, let's write them something that causes them to get off the fence. When they read those emails, when the customers read those emails, they finally understood. They understood somebody cares about me. Somebody is competent to solve this problem. They have a product that will solve the problem. The stakes are very high. They've told me how easy it is to actually implement this and do this. And then they asked me for the money. And that's it. That's it. All right. Bottom line is, if you have a product that should be selling more than it is, if people are having trouble understanding the value that you actually offer, or if your team isn't sure about how to talk about what you do, the StoryBrand Framework is going to help you. I want you to go to storybrand.ai. I want you to enter all the information, answer the questions, come up with your 7 sound bites, and use them in a StoryBrand messaging and marketing campaign. That is what implementation is about. That's what JJ is talking about here. Here is my promise to you. When you clarify your message, then people will listen. So get started today. We created a great tool for you at storybrand.ai. And if anybody else on your team needs to be introduced to this, make sure they download this incredible audio experience. But this will really help them understand what StoryBrand is all about and why you and your business need to implement this today. Thank you so much for your time. We know that you've just given us hours. We hope that we've given you an enormous return on your time. Again, when you clarify your message, then people will listen.
This StoryBrand radio theater presentation of Pete and Joe Save Their Mother's Company was directed by Steve Taylor, written by Seth Worley, Donald Miller, and Steve Taylor. Edited by Matthew Sterling and engineered by Matt Huseman. Sound designed by Sarah Voorhees Wendell. Original music composed and produced by John Mark Painter. Narrated by Jimmy Hodson. And the Manly Board Games jingle was composed by Steve Taylor and sung by Fleming McWilliams. Starring James Arnold Taylor as Pete and Buddy Budson, Josh Childs as Joe, Donald Miller as himself, Jenny Littleton as Olivia, Dorothy Manley, and Bill's assistant, Henry O. Arnold as Bill Griffin, Carrie Tambazian as the lawyer, Nathan Price Mann as Neil, Finley Joel as Annie, Lorenzo Rivera as Rev, Greg, and the gaming vlogger, Fallon Danita as Emily, Priya, Megan, and the barista, Tristan Telvik as Auden, and Steve Taylor as the director.